Oh man.
Oh no!
What?
Well known.
You're the only
respected,
person
and admired for past achievements.
that I
that's
think
true.
that fits all of you beautifully. Huber, you're the only person I know that could say I'm having stomach pains and then immediately laugh afterwards.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
you know,
Died from the inside out, but I'm good.
Yep.
Come on, Frame Trap. It counterbalances.
Life finds a way. And last but certainly not least, Daniel Bloodworth.
Yeah, made it back sooner this time.
Yeah, yeah. We haven't had this lineup in a while, and I like this lineup because
It's been a while.
it's different than some of our other ones. It's got a good vibe to it. It's very chill. That's how I would describe this lineup, and I like chill. But let's dig right into it. What have you guys been playing? There's been, honestly, you know, I say this all the time, but when I go home now after we do an Easy Allies thing and I have a couple of hours before I have to go to bed to play stuff, I'm just paralyzed now. I'm just like, well, I've got 15 different options that all
Sure.
seem really interesting, and they're all very different from each other. Yeah. So, unparalyze me, Brandon Jones. What's been
my.
keeping you busy?
I'm currently reviewing Infinite Warfare, so I'm playing COD.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to get into reviews too much on Frame Trap with our opinions and such.
We can go wherever, man.
I enjoy COD. I always whenever I review COD, I always get really tired, like fatigued by the time you get to that last level. Because like you want, and I don't blame the developers because you want to throw 500 guys at once, you know, at me and like, oh, so many targets and robots and ships. But it's like when I've been invested for 8-9 hours and I just want to get to the end of the campaign so I can start playing multiplayer and get into, you know, zombies and stuff. I'm just kind of like, you know, it's like lots of targets, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, not feeling as much as the last or Black Ops 3.
It's really funny.
Advanced Warfare. Sorry, I got my Warfares confused.
I brought it over to my friend's house. We were like watching wrestling, and then I was like, "Oh, let's play some Call of Duty." And Brad was there, and remind me not to play Call of Duty with Mr. Brad Ellis.
Whoa.
Because he's like nothing against Brad, obviously. He's like Brad. Yeah. Because he's over it. He's in that place where it's like we're playing, and we went into a multiplayer match. And immediately, like Call of Duty, you're spawning in, people are running at you, they're sliding in, they're jumping around, like crazy Call of Duty players, professionals. And Brad is just like, dude, this is the same thing it's been for so long, like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, you're kind of right. That kind of bummed me out. But I still love it. I still love like checking in to Call of Duty. You know?
They're definitely what's interesting compared it to Black Ops 3 and why I was so impressed with Black Ops 3 is like Black Ops 3 begins and they're like, you move very differently in this game. Like you can shoot behind you now. When you're doing like a slide on the ground, you can aim anywhere you want. So you can slide there and aim to the left or behind you. You can aim up and down when you wall run. You have this crazy double jump now that isn't like just your typical press A twice and you'll go higher, but like you have a bar that you can like hit it and hold it to do a really high jump, or just give it a little tap if you're falling. It's, you know, you have like a little like bounce before you land, so you like negate fall damage. And Infinite Warfare starts, and they're like, yeah, double jump, wall run, anyway, moving on. I'm like, oh, like there was much less attention to like, especially when I met with the devs too, that they were like, we've spent so much time in making sure multiplayer was finely tuned for Black Ops 3. And then yeah, going into Infinite Warfare, it's just kind of like, you know, it's the premise received way more attention than like actually improving mechanics or doing crazy new things that I had done
from
before.
my time-
outside of the ships, which is amazing.
For my time with it too, the movement seems like it doesn't belong in this game.
That's
with the multiplayer maps.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Black Ops 3, those maps are so tailored to the movement. I'll never forget like the Redwood Forest map where people are legitimately going out of bounds, mounting on the trees. And there's so many maps in this game where it's just right angles. It's like hallway or cramped area. Even some of the bigger maps are just like weirdly spaced out.
The campaign maps too, I get the vibe that they like built a map and we're like, okay, we have wall running. Put a wall over there, and like, okay, you know, like I think during the entirety of the campaign I wall run twice. You know, I noticed a wall and was like, oh, I can get a little shortcut up there. Whereas like, you know, Black Ops 3 constantly like you know, like not only that, but I would like go to wall run and stuff would happen while I was on the wall. Like enemies would come at me or like stuff would go flying around. But still fun. But just it's I'm invested in that because I just reviewed Gears and like had not played a Gears game in a long time. But like I reviewed the last COD, the COD before that. So I'm invested.
I think this is a year where to me, Call of Duty is just strictly outclassed by Titanfall 2. Like
And Battlefield 1.
it was exactly but I feel like the movement especially and like the pace of a match is much more similar in Titanfall and Call of Duty than it is in a Battlefield. And not that they're the same thing, they're not, but in Titanfall when you're moving around, everything makes sense. Every part of every level, it's like, no, there are creative ways to get around this, and it feels so good. I don't have to think about it. Whereas in Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, it feels outdated in a weird way. Like they just haven't. It's just not as elegant as it is in Titanfall 2, for lack of a better phrase.
Only like just so though, you know, not like they're not like, oh, this cancels out COD. It's just like the market is so competitive.
Right.
When you have games like Overwatch and Titanfall that just feel so good, and then you fall back on a COD that's like, you know, capable. You know, it's like it just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's comparatively, it's not enough.
So yeah, I guess the thing for me though, whereas like Titanfall feels like a fully realized concept that all its elements are working together in unison, whereas Call of Duty, it feels like it's sort of dragging this foundation along with it and like bolting on extra stuff like the movement. It doesn't feel as natural as it does in Titanfall, and I think that's what's bothering me. I don't know. Are you guys getting that vibe?
Yeah, for a long time now though, Call of Duty has just been something that I enjoy checking in on.
But I think Black Ops 3 was a more interesting game.
I love
Very
Black
interesting.
Ops 3.
Yeah,
Black Ops 3 was so good, especially the co-op campaign with Kyle. I always talk about that, and the multiplayer. But before that, and now again, you know, I think I'll always enjoy just checking in to Call of Duty. Nothing more, nothing less. Like, it's so fun diving in and getting slaughtered.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. You know, I'll probably only play for a couple weeks. You know, I played Black Ops 3 for a couple months.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal for me to play a Call of Duty for that long. It's, you know, I haven't done that since like Modern Warfare 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just love checking in. I try not to overanalyze the multiplayer. And yeah, nothing really more to say for me. Just dive in, get slaughtered. See you later. See you next year.
So do you
Is
not?
that a bad thing to look at it like that? Like,
No,
that's
no.
kind of what Call of Duty is to me, though. That's my tune
But
out
that's
game.
that's what hopefully my review, and the same
Yeah.
thing with Gears. When I was
Yeah.
a little down on Gears, was that like I'm trying to communicate to as many people as possible. And if you are a Gears fan, you're fine. You're covered.
Yeah.
Like if you're way into COD, you have to play COD this year. It's not broken. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But if like you haven't played any shooter this year, and you're at Best Buy and you're looking at Overwatch and Titanfall and you know COD and hello Battlefield.
Battlefield 1.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, do Battlefield first.
Yeah.
Then Titanfall, you know, and then Overwatch, or you know, Overwatch second, or yeah, it's just like it doesn't beat any of those other games in my opinion.
So I have two questions for both of you. I guess one specifically for Huber. When you hear, you know, because we talked about this last Train Trap, kind of a year of shooters, and a lot of people are comparing them, and a lot of people are, you know, saying pros and cons of absolutely everything. Does that kind of talk exhaust you think, a little bit, since it is sort of a checkout game for you?
With Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to always just distance myself from the Call of Duty conversation. I think it's the one video game for me where I just say it is what it is. You know, I don't. I mean, Black Ops 3, I did enjoy diving really deep into it. It helped that I had Kyle to get crazy with the story about. We talked about that story for so long. And I think the multiplayer was really good because I put so much time into it. It just felt so solid, the foundation.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, I just kind of just tune it out and shoot some dudes
Sure.
and get shot.
Sure. Well, we don't have to dwell on this too much, but I do have one more question for both of you, and I think it's your tone, I think, kind of reflects the sales of Infinite Warfare. They're not as strong, and you're saying, you know, checking in for a couple of weeks as opposed to a couple of months, even though you're still interested in it. I think it's fair to say, it's safe to say at this point, that that's kind of a general sentiment, that the flame is not burning quite as hot. What do you think this means for Call of Duty? Do you think, you know, it saw its peak and now it's just going to kind of continue to be like this? Or do you think, Sledgehammer's going to come out next year, they're going to make a really interesting game, and one good game is enough
Just enough
to
for the future.
Enough. I was just going to say it.
It's
Enough.
Because this game's like future. Like even games that weren't focused, like something like Advanced Warfare, that clearly sounds like a futuristic game.
Yeah.
Whereas like a Black Ops 2, like not necessarily, but like drones and all very future tech, and scanning people through walls. And then like 3 is like very future, dealing with some very interesting, concepts with AI and computers kind of taking over mankind. And then like Advanced Warfare, and then now Infinite Warfare. And it's interesting. I think one of the most interesting things about Infinite Warfare with the campaign is how much flying you do. That is featured very prominently in the campaign.
Right.
Almost half, if not more, you're just flying around. And it's interesting playing like an EVE Online or like a Wing Commander. And it feels like COD. I'm like hiding. I'm like getting cover behind an asteroid, and then like flying back out, like shooting guys. But I just think, it's like when you have them kind of doubling down on a concept that like, when I played something like an Advanced Warfare, and you had that mission where you're like flying around the refinery in the middle of the desert, and then you land, and then you get back on the ship, and then I played this, and I'm like, okay, we were kind of going in this direction. Like they did love that Star Fox, Adventures vibe, or not Star Fox Adventures. It was Adventures where you could like land and get out of the ship, and then. That was the one after that. It was like Heroes
Assault,
or something?
I think you're thinking of.
Assault.
Yeah.
And so you could see the other R-Wings like flying around while you were doing that. I could see that being exciting as a developer to like, let's really expand that. Let's have the scale of you being in a ship and then get in your ship and then fly out, no loading screen. And then now you're looking at the ship you were just in, and now it's blowing up as you're escaping it. But a Battlefield comes out and there's no question. And it's just like, well, or I could, play World War I for the first time in how many years, and like do weapons I've never done and go to areas that feel so unique and it's just tricky. It's like I'm trying to think of like making a comparison, but it's just like it was really between DICE or EA and Activision, like who was going to buckle first and who was going to be like, okay, let's do something different. Let's go this way instead of forward. And I think that's what COD needs to do now, is like just take it in a weird direction.
Well, like you were saying,
Black Ops 3 was weird. That campaign was very strange.
Yeah. And 3.
And it was so refreshing. Like I remember at the review event, I got up after I finished the campaign and fed the first guy I found. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, we couldn't wait for you guys to play this campaign.
Like you were saying, they keep bolting on features. Like you were saying, it's like future.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to go back to World War II, but I would really love if they scaled everything back, and especially after playing the Modern Warfare remaster.
Yeah.
That is what would be a huge shot in the arm for me, and a big thing to just scale everything back.
Yeah,
to just tone it all down. Like, let's take a step back, Call of Duty. You keep
Absolutely.
getting crazier drones, and like you're saying, just spaceships.
Well, I'm in a Star Destroyer blowing up major cruisers.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
I don't know how you top
It's
that.
like let's go back to just boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Simple weapons. Just
Yeah, well, I mean,
the
I
thing
think
that
that-
made Call of Duty great was those just raw mechanics.
But I think that's the thing that's difficult, though, is it's like you are talking about changing the pace of the gameplay. So it's like all of this future-y stuff, it's like it's not just aesthetic because it changes how you play the game. And then you scale that back, you strip that down, and you put it in another era, and it's like, okay, well, these guns are slow, and these vehicles are slow, and you can't jump over a wall, or and so like it really like it takes a lot of thought to switch directions that way.
Yeah.
Or to just ignore it and say this is basically cosmetic.
I think I agree with both of you, but Hubert, playing Modern Warfare Remastered and playing the multiplayer, as I said last Frame Trap, it's nice just kind of feeling like what matters the most is slowly stalking around this map and pointing at shooting at guys.
Yeah.
I like that boots on the ground. Like, it's not about just bouncing all over the place, but I don't think the answer is just to make that again. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Because
Of
I think
course.
if you do scale it back, you have a danger of just like trying to recapture this weird nostalgia, and that's gonna feel weird and authentic. I think what it needs to do is it kind of needs another Modern Warfare moment where it's like, okay, we're just gonna make this feel different.
Yeah.
Like we're going to maybe we're not going to do kill streaks. Maybe we're not going to do like something just else. Like be bold and go in a totally different direction. Because. Yeah, I for as much as I hear people clamoring for the Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2 days, I don't think just doing that again is all that exciting.
I want Call of Duty 2, Brecourt. Let's go.
Whoa.
Yeah. Throwback.
Yeah.
Thompson submachine gun. So good, man. Oh, can we get like a remaster of the original Call of Duty? That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen. Calling you. Infinity Ward.
I am getting a little burnt out on remasters, I think.
Sure.
I don't know why.
No.
I know you don't like this.
I got
don't like
a
this talk.
remaster for you.
Yeah.
I love
Skyrim.
Skyrim.
You know what was fun?
Yes.
I really enjoyed playing Skyrim for 2 hours and then deleting it from my hard drive.
Sure.
It was really fun, like them being like, "You just learned shouts. Now you need to go to the top of the mountain and speak with the great dragon monks." And they'll I'm like, "Bye." Delete. It's like, because I played that game to death, you know, and like I played it because I wanted to stream it. I wanted to see, you know, that game holds up, and it's, man, that vibe. There's got to be a word for that in an RPG. That first time you like sell loot you just got and get an item and then buy a shield and your stat goes up slightly,
Economy,
and then you're
baby.
like, oh no, you know, like that little taste of improvement, that little dopamine, like, oh, it's so good, you know, and then you can just see your trajectory through the RPG. You're like, okay, time to make myself better, and it's fun to just full stop on a game RPG, like, bye Skyrim. But good music, good action in that game. Love the
Excellent music.
The bow and arrow,
Yeah.
shooting skeletons in the head with the bow and arrow never stops being fun.
Summoning things.
And Skylanders, finally cracked open all of those and played it. And I love that because it's a great chat engagement game. Chad helped me make a Skylander. You can create your own Skylanders now. And so I made a little red and black tiki dude with a big tiki head and white eyes. And you can pick their slogan. And in a very deep voice, he says, "I like emotion." And that's the official Easy Ally Skylander.
Yeah.
I like emotion.
Yes.
I like emotion.
That is amazing.
And then as you level up, you'll go through the game and you'll unlock, like, there's 2 parts of a sentence. You pick like the first part, so like I like was the first part, emotion was the second part, and you unlock more of those for them to say. But yeah, so thank you, Chad, for thank you our viewers on Twitch for helping me build that guy. That was fun.
I want to go back to Skyrim just really quick.
Sure.
Because the last Bethesda game I played before Skyrim, this remastered version, was Fallout 4. And I really enjoy Fallout 4, but something I don't love about Fallout 4 is the beginning, the way it begins.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't... Everything about it felt so... I don't know, like the dialogue didn't work for me. The relationship between you and your family, like the drama just wasn't there. The mojo just wasn't there. And you like when you boot up Skyrim, and you hear that chanting,
Yeah.
like it just puts you in the mood. Like you want to be in this northern realm exploring, and it's a simple thing, but it's so important. And being a prisoner and about to have your head chopped off, and having that dragon come and crash in,
And all the other guys around you being cool about it.
Yeah.
Being like, we were captured, we're about to be executed, I stand by my beliefs, like, so like, take it like a man, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Setting the tone.
yeah.
yeah.
And Macho
absolutely.
Man Randy Savage comes flying in and starts yelling at you, like, totally unexpected. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. It's weird because I think just playing the Skyrim remastered briefly, I don't think I've played it as much as you have. I would never say I've played it to death, but I think I like that game more than I remember liking it. I think Skyrim was just so in my face for so long that for whatever reason I kind of distanced myself from it because I was just getting sick of hearing about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, giving it another chance, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good, and they have done some extremely smart things here.
Do you want to know why I love remasters?
Yeah.
Give that game's another chance.
Yeah,
Sven.
absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
and now Mankind Divided, changing my life, you know, that whole big thing. Skyrim bothered me the first time around because I was like, it doesn't matter. Like, I was looking at it like I look at so many games, completionist style. It's like, dude, it doesn't matter if I go explore all these caves, find the best sword in the entire game
Oh, yeah.
versus having just a wooden club. Because of the scaling and stuff, I'm still going to kick everyone's ass.
Well,
So that took me so out of it, but I think now going in and just like letting it happen, I think I'll enjoy it a lot more.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Skyrim was a game where I kind of had your moment in because I was sort of trying to do everything, you know, and so I was just scouring the map, just like going up and down the map, like from the the west to the east, more or less. And I got about halfway through, and I'm like, I think I've got like 80-something hours into this game already, and I haven't barely touched the story or anything. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start finding a way to make this more manageable. I'm not gonna go everywhere. I'm just gonna go to the main cities. I'll go to the main cities, see what's happening in the main cities. Start finding these quests. And then there are things like like you were saying, that like I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to get into the Thieves Guild or the Necromancy thing or what, I forget exactly what they were, but there were just like a couple of like huge quest lines.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah. I don't care about that at all. It does not interest me. I'm gonna move on and do something else. But what's crazy is that there's so much to Skyrim, and that you see people that like are basically still playing it. Like I don't get it. At some point, you've got to have exhausted that game. But
So many mods.
People keep
many
getting
mods.
in there.
Something that as I get older, though, what I appreciate more are just games where I get to be in a place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That maybe I don't have to do anything. Maybe you aren't pulling me along, but even if there are now times when I play games and I just accomplish, like in certain games, I accomplish nothing. I do nothing. Like I didn't change my character or this world in the 3 hours that I played it. I just walked around
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
killed some things.
Far Cry Primal was that game
Yeah,
for me.
and
Where
it's
it's like, I don't really
awesome.
like Far Cry Primal, but
Yeah.
I'm enjoying being in
Yeah.
the Stone Age.
Right.
Or, you know?
Well, that's why I'm kind of opposite of Huber with Witcher 3. And not being necessarily on the quest. He's like, I do the thing in The Witcher 3 that I tell nobody to do. Because like I'll come over some hill and I'll see some weird thing. It's like, oh, this is cool. Like this place kind of has some kind of thought and backstory behind it, but there's no quest here. There's nothing going on here, but there's this ruined trebuchet or something just stuck in a ravine. I'm like, what was that about? I don't know. And it just kind of had that believability where I just want to wander around.
I want to be selfish and force CD Projekt Red to make Witcher 3 expansions like every 2 months. Just like, come on, more.
Now,
Yeah.
Now, CD Projekt Red.
Brendan Jones.
Yeah.
We got a little Skyrim, we got a little Skylanders. Anything else you wanna dig into those a little bit more? Or you got anything else for me? Are we
That's
ready
all
to
I got.
keep going?
Builders, always builders. But,
Always builders. Brendan, the way that you embraced that game and then
you
the
talk
score
about
that you
being
gave
somewhere.
it.
Like
Yeah.
the last 5 minutes of all of my builders play sessions, I just get to a high point and just look around at the world and the
Nice.
things I built. Jolly.
Very.
But need to stop playing that. Don't support that. Whenever I say builders, be like, no, Jones.
No, I can't do that. That's not who I
I'm on
am,
chapter
man.
1. I'm gonna catch up. Catching up.
I will enable that all the way.
Yep.
I want to know what Huber's been playing.
Not that much.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Not
One
that
big
much.
one.
You guys are
I
always
got
playing
some
crazy things.
I got some rapid fires.
We get some rapid
Some
fires.
movies and stuff. Saw some movies.
Please.
The remaster I want to talk about though real quickly. Dead Rising 2.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know you've been on that.
Yeah. Just a little on the side. Little Dead Rising 2 on the side.
That's the motorcycle guy, right?
Huber, sometimes you just
Chuck
say
Green.
things, and I just feel a swell of like love.
Yes. Dead Rising 2, I remember not liking it as much as Dead Rising 1, like
Yeah.
not even close.
Me too.
Enjoying it so much more
What?
this time around.
When I finished Dead Rising 2, I was like, "This is an excellent game."
Loved it.
I
Loved it.
I love it.
But I still liked them all.
Sure.
And the feel
I think it's a better setting.
and the vibe of 1. 2 was a little more simulator, a little more slower paced, a little more realistic, if you can say that. But yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot more. Those remasters are so well done.
Dead Rising 4 is like a couple weeks away, and I feel like we don't know much about it.
Yeah, they just came out with a bunch of stuff on
Did they?
IGN first. There's a lot of info.
I think
Time mechanic gone. No co-op.
Yeah, that's right.
gone.
Yeah.
Co-op is gone.
Co-op gone. No time mechanic. It's people are pretty upset.
I'm pretty upset.
Yeah,
I
because
like
the time mechanic makes it for me, and because they're catering to they're alienating me right now. I feel so cast aside because the time mechanic of Dead Rising is so critical to my love for that game. It is such a unique feature and it works so well. And they come out and, like quoting them on this, they basically said, people just really want to run around and kill zombies and not have to worry about the time. So we're going to get rid of that. And I'm just like,
Well, you don't have to worry about the time if you don't worry about it.
Right.
You know, like
you can already make that choice.
Yeah. Like when the clock runs out in the first game, you can keep playing.
Exactly.
You just won't get that
And
specific ending.
And 2 is such a good feature where it's like you can start the story over at any time and carry over all your your level up, all your cash. So it's like, you can go mess around, not worry about time, kill everyone, and then you've leveled up a bunch. Okay, now go back, start the story. And it's so upsetting to hear him like abandon the entire core of that franchise.
Here's the thing about a horde of enemies in almost any game is the horde of enemies are there to like interrupt something way more important and way more interesting. Okay, in Diablo, the horde of enemies is like you getting sweet loot, right? Like there's an obstacle there that leads to something else that's more interesting. In Dead Rising, because you had that time limit, when you got out and you were going to a new place and it was just covered with zombies and you're like, okay, I have to get over there.
Yes.
But there's this sea of undead in my way that meant something. You felt something. There was tension there. There was excitement. Like, sure, maybe you could shoot dildos at him and that was funny and there's value in that as well. But there was more to it than that. If you take that away, you just have nothing and it gets really boring and dumb.
Because and two, to build on that, it's like when you finish a main part of the quest and it's like 9 p.m. and it's like, all right, come back at 8 a.m. It's like, all right, I got some time on my hands. Let's go explore the mall. Let's do this. So like playing it again too, I'm realizing that like the time isn't that restrictive. It's not as restrictive as I thought it was.
Well, it's based on your goals.
Yeah.
It's restrictive if it's getting in the way of what you want to do.
Yeah.
But if you just want to run around and have fun, nothing's stopping you from doing that.
Yeah. So
I think it's going through like an identity crisis because like to me it was a little bit too much to see like the trailer and see Frank like in the mall with like a Christmas tree made out of undead that's on fire and he's just like, yeah, and I'm like, okay, so Dead Rising 4 is not hard, I guess, you know, because like he seems super comfortable. Like he seems almost like he's enjoying this. Like he's like, I don't want to leave. I love being, you know, in Willamette. And so it's like, if I end up playing like a Christmas stream or something, end up like booting up Dead Rising 4 and it starts out and he's just like, it's been so many years since we. I'm like, no, you can't. Pick a tone, dude. You can't like have the best of both worlds.
I love the difficulty of those games too. It makes everything more meaningful. Like leveling up feels good. Finding a new weapon combination feels good. Like completing those quests, getting people back to base feels so rewarding.
That's when I stopped.
Ticking down.
That's when I stopped Dead Rising 2. It was one really long escort.
Yeah.
And then I was like on the way back, and they died on the way back. And I just did the math, and I was like, that was a half an hour. Then I'm gonna have to do all over again.
I just let him die.
And I stopped playing.
Let him
I
burn.
don't want to do that again. Yeah, I don't think I could. I think it was like a story thing.
Because it's cool too, because they reward you for like picking them up as well. You know, it's like, you initiate the escort, you get a nice little bonus, and then you get another bonus if you get them all the way back. So like, if they die, I'm like, well, at least I like initiated that and got that. Like, man, Dead Rising 2 and 1.
Good.
So great. Ben's depressed over here.
I am depressed.
Yeah.
I am
know,
depressed.
It really hurts.
It's just like it's something I've been thinking about off and on, and The Witcher 3 has reminded me of this in a lot of ways. Where like you have a Dead Rising and you have these moments in Dead Rising that are supremely frustrating, like you were saying, like doing an escort quest, having the AI be just absolutely.
It's
stupid.
a lot better in 2. Oh my god,
is.
It's 1.
It is.
Like,
in 1, it is the worst.
In
it's
1,
still
it's
not
hopeless.
great in 2, right? And the point is, you have frustrating moments where you're like, this is not as elegant as it should be. But like, I would rather have that. I would rather occasionally get really frustrated and have a more interesting, intricate game than have it streamlined to the point where there's no identity anymore and. There's absolutely no depth and no complexity. And another game that comes to mind immediately when I say that is Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma is a mountain of tiny annoyances, but like if you can muscle through that, those tiny annoyances in a way kind of allow for a really weird, fucking awesome game.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, aren't there enough games that are streamlined to the point of dullness anyway?
Yeah.
Like.
Seriously, it's so brutal. It's like, everyone just wants to kill the zombies.
Yeah.
No.
Make it a mode. You know,
make it a mode. Didn't they have a mode? It was like
they split it like Minecraft.
Over time,
have just a mode where it's like there's no story in this mode. You just run around.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Enough
Enough Dead Rising.
Enough rage. Quick fire. What else you got for me?
Some movies. Saw some friggin' phenomenal movies. We're in Oscar season right now. It's heating up. It's getting nuts. Saw, first off, there will be zero. I don't even want to talk about this movie. I just want to say, if you haven't, go see Arrival.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Huber, I feel like this is a movie where I don't want you to tell me anything about
nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. It is just the perfect storm of like, just go see it as fast as you can. That's all I gotta say. Saw Loving. Very emotional film.
I have never heard of Loving.
Loving has Joel Edgerton, and it's about a white man in the 50s marrying a black woman in the South. Very intense film. I need to see it again because I didn't feel as emotional as I thought I would for a movie like this. That's such a heavy topic. There was like this, Joel Edgerton felt kind of removed from the whole thing, and that as a viewer kind of like hit me. I was like, if he's removed, like I'm kind of removed. Like it was a complex movie. I need to see it again, but super good movie. Next on the list is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Yes.
I didn't know what to make of this movie.
Oh man.
Like,
okay.
why are you so excited about it?
Because it's not Harry Potter, man.
Okay.
Because it's not, and like you want to go into that. Like I went into that theater trying to distance and block out as much Harry Potter as I could. And the reason this movie is so phenomenal is, one, because I'm a Hufflepuff, and Newt Scamander spoke to my soul, dude.
Who is Newt Scamander, and why did he speak to your soul?
Eddie Redmayne plays Newt, and he is referenced in the later Harry Potter movies. He's a legendary founder of
book author.
author.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is a book that he wrote that Hermione references.
Yes.
So it's there in Hogwarts library. Like it is a textbook if you go to Hogwarts.
And
okay, so sometimes I feel like I have these questions about Harry Potter, and you two just look at me like, come on.
No, it's fine. You're good. And I felt more emotion between him and animals than I have between any characters in any movie this year.
The movie does do a good job of slowing down at points and letting you really absorb, like really get a good look at a creature and wonder, like, wow, where's this from, and what is the,
There's
like
just
there's similarities between animals that are on Earth, but it's kind of like it's kind of like Avatar, where they'll take like animals and put them to like fuse them together, and you get fun little
or Monster Hunter,
different creatures, or Monster Hunter, yeah.
There's just so much empathy and emotion and heart and soul and magic in this movie. I smiled so many times. I felt so many emotions. Like J.K. Rowling wrote this first Harry Potter movie she's written.
Yeah.
She's my favorite author of all time. Like she is. I put her on a pedestal. I think she is the best living author right now. And the characters are just so full-bodied. These are like the four main characters and some other characters. Again, I don't want to get into like super plot details. But I compare it to like Marvel, where you have these villains that are so one-dimensional, that have no stakes or emotions. Like I recently went back and I watched Civil War, and I have more respect for Baron Zemo now. I hated that villain at first. I think he's like the best villain in Marvel. But Marvel has a villain problem where you just don't care. And villains drive the plot of these movies. And if I don't care about that person, like, what is going to make me care about the hero being triumphant or the hero overcoming that? It's like, anyway, there's so much depth and nuance, and like there's so many layers to every character and the world, and she doesn't jam Harry Potter lore down your face. There's just enough there for fans to really grab hold of and be like, oh, that's cute. Like, she's not forcing it on you. And it helps the fact that there's nobody from the Harry Potter movies in the movie, because it's like so far before. It's in America. It's in the 1920s. Like, there's so much distance. And it's funny. There's one thing I always wanted to learn more about in the Harry Potter universe, and that was the Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
And they kind of like
A little bit.
There's a little bit of that in this movie, and
kind of puritanical rage,
Yeah.
you know, just like a little bit of sentiment carrying over from the colonies, and
that's it. That's all I'm gonna say about that movie.
I know you want to separate it from Harry Potter, and,
Yeah.
and rightfully so, because it seems like, you know, it stands on its own merits. But a lot of what you're describing is how I would describe Harry Potter in a very
Absolutely.
positive way,
Yeah.
where all of those positive feelings, like putting you in this world and kind of just tucking you in and letting you be a
Tucking me
part
in.
of it. But the other thing that I think is even more important than that is, you know, Harry Potter, for all of its successes, I think one of its biggest successes is the relationship Voldemort has with every single person in that world, and how they build it up and how they make it feel like how this person matters. You know, they're not just there to be behind the scenes and cause evil and destruction. Like you feel for them, you relate to them.
Yes.
And they're both ominous and practical at the same time. And I don't know if the villain is like that.
It's too early to talk about any specific details. We're not talking about any details. Go see
it's
it.
gonna be interesting to see.
We're not talking about any of that.
Supposedly 5 movies, so it's gonna be interesting to see what's next. I have a counterpoint. I saw this film with my wife, and Harry Potter is her favorite thing ever, and she was like,
Do you think she likes Harry Potter more than she likes you?
Yeah, if like Harry Potter, yeah, I'm trying to think, because it's like the burning bridge analogy. It's like we were both hanging off like a bridge, like
Right.
help, you know, and it was like me and like Cedric Diggory. I don't know if she'd reach for me. I just don't know. I just don't know.
You know,
Betty.
there was no hesitation there. You were like, well, no,
Yeah.
probably not. I liked that.
yeah.
That was good. Okay.
And she was iffy. She was like, she was not a huge fan. I would say the best thing about Fantastic Beasts is just the world. It reminded me a lot of Azkaban, which is I think the best, not only the best Harry Potter film, but like anything after that's like, it just gets really weird. Part 7 was pretty good in parts, but just going into a place, seeing people live, seeing people like just use magic, like whatever, I'm just whatever, you know. And then you have Dan Fogler, you know, his perspective, which was I think one of the most refreshing. He's my favorite part of that movie. And we had never seen that in the books or in the films or anything really, but a non-magic user, us basically being like forced into this world and seeing it, you know, from their perspective. And you go into the ministry in the U.S. and it's just like, whoa, that sign, ah, crap. You know, it's like, I can't wait to get the Blu-ray and like pause and be like, oh, cool. Like all those little details, because you're not seeing something that was like, oh, I know what that says because I read the books. It's like, I don't, whoa, what was that? Who's that? Whoa. So like that was really neat. I just thought the characters were kind of one note. Like Newt was good, but he just kind of plateaued. And the main female character was like kind of dumb, like not great. Like there was just like I found myself, it kind of reminded me of like a bad horror movie in some parts, where like a character would do something and I'm like, surely there must be 50 ways out of the situation other than the mistake you just made. Like you're a magician, like you just apparated 5 seconds ago, but now you're stuck in, okay, you know, like where it's like try not to think too hard. And there was like I was there with a lot of Harry Potter fans, and like when we were like, you know, leaving the theater, I was like, could they have? And they're like, yeah, they could have. Don't talk to me about that. That was a bad scene. I'm like, oh, okay. But like it's and much and if you are a Harry Potter fan, much less whimsy. Like definitely not as like comical and like magic's fun. It's very serious. Deals with some very interesting issues that I think are actually topical in today's society as well. It being 100 years in the past.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But go see it. It's fun. If you're a Harry Potter fan, yeah, no question. Go check it out.
I love it.
I love this back and forth.
One of
thing.
my favorite movies, this year, hands down.
Okay.
So
All right.
good.
You
Lastly,
got
I
anything
saw-
else for us?
Rapid fire.
I had the pleasure of seeing Guillermo del Toro last night
Oh yeah.
Wait,
in
what?
the flesh.
How?
I saw
In
that. I
the
saw
flesh.
that
Did he
tweet.
summon you? Like what?
He
You saved
The
my Cuba in the
exhibition,
mirror
right?
5
I
times.
stalk him on Twitter, and luckily, LACMA is having a Guillermo del Toro exhibit that I got the chance to go to, which is phenomenal. It's like his personal collection. He one night I was lying in bed, and he tweeted out. He was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be at the Crimson Peak screening, doing a Q&A."
Okay.
Immediately bought tickets. So I had the chance to watch Crimson Peak with him there, and it was just absolutely glorious. It was a dream come true. Guillermo del Toro, man, he was like leaving because it was super late, and he's like walking off stage, and everyone is like, his handlers, like the LACMA people, are like shooing him off. People are like trying to get autographs. I brought my book to like try to get him to sign, and it was hopeless, right? Like I was like, there's no way he's signing this. So I go, Mr. Del Toro, just a handshake? And he looks over and he's like, oh yeah. And he like walks over like 3 steps, reaches down, and I shake his hand and look him in the eyes. I'm just like, thank you. It's like, yes. No, it was like one of the best moments of my life.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Good news. I can officially announce it here at our first official meet and greet on December 2nd at 6 p.m. at the Avalon Ballroom inside the Hilton Anaheim. Handshakes.
Handshakes.
No, but he basically confirmed that he's working with Kojima on the next game. He basically said it. He's like, I can't really say anything about that now because he got asked about PT, obviously.
Yeah.
So, Guillermo, man, we know.
Huber, I got 2 things to say to you. All I want in life is Del Toro and Kojima to work together and make that video game. I want that.
It's seriously happening.
But I also have some news for you. You said the forbidden word of this episode, Kojima. And it's time for a new segment.
Forbidden word!
When...
Dude, Ben Moore's Playhouse right now. What's happening?
Yeah, that's right. You said the forbidden word, Kojima, and so this is going to be a new segment on the show. I don't know when it's going to happen. It's whenever somebody says the forbidden word, we get caught in a frame trap. By saying the forbidden word, you initiate the frame trap, which we are stuck in until we play a short game and untangle ourselves from the frame trap.
No, you've been playing.
Really quickly though, Del Toro was amazing when he was talking about PT. He was saying that was like he basically reiterated everything.
Sure.
I was like kind of annoyed when the question guy was like, we really miss PT. Can you tell us about it? It's like, yo, Google that.
Yeah.
He's said it. He's
right.
on record saying it so many times.
Yeah.
But the best part was that when he reiterated everything, at the very end, he said, fucking Konami.
That must have been in person, just hearing that. You're like...
Dude, I was like, yeah!
Right.
It was amazing.
We need you to get these things on footage of these.
I know,
If you're
I
there,
should
we
have
need you to
recorded
record
it.
that.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have been
that clipped
allowed.
out.
But yeah.
Huber, I certainly don't mean to cut you off. That was not my
That's
intention.
it. That's it.
Wow.
You're done? You're good? Okay, all right, cool. All right,
Because
so
you're gonna bring up Dishonored 2, right?
I will bring up Dishonored 2. I have to talk about Dishonored 2. But anyway, this is our game for our first Caught in a Frame Trap segment. I hope you're all excited. So this is not meant to be like a super long distraction. It's just meant to keep people on their toes, have a little bit of fun. I thought it was funny. Anyway, here we go. What we're doing today for the very first Caught in a Frame Trap is I have 6 video game print advertisements.
Okay.
And I took a slogan from each of those advertisements, and I'm going to give you 3 options. And you have to tell me which is the correct one for the slogan. Now, I'm going to be keeping score, okay?
Okay.
And the person that gets the most actually gets to break us out of the frame trap. Okay. You can use a physical gesture or a saying, or you can just scream whatever you think will break us out of this particular frame trap. That's what I want you to do.
Okay.
All right. Are we ready to begin? Okay, so this is the first slogan. You can actually hear your pupils dilate. Which video game used this slogan? Now, don't shout it out. I'm gonna have you each pick an answer from the 3. I'm gonna go Brandon, Huber, Blood. Okay. So your options are Final Fantasy VII, Crash Bandicoot 3, or Resident Evil 2. Brandon, which of those 3 games used that slogan in an advertisement?
The first game, which is I totally forget what it was now.
Final Fantasy VII?
I say Final Fantasy VII.
Okay. Huber.
Oh man, I'm going with my gut. I'm also gonna say Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 2.
Okay. Brandon and Huber, you're both right. It was Final Fantasy VII.
I think I remember that one actually.
It is a hilarious advertisement.
Yes.
It's both hilarious and pretty awesome. It's Sephiroth looking at Genova, and then in white, like bold text, it goes, "You could actually hear your pupils dilate." And the minute I saw that, that's how I thought of this game, and it really did a lot for me. Okay, so both 1 point for Brandon and Michael Huber.
We did it.
Some of these are pretty easy. Some of them are pretty difficult. I tried to mix it up as much as I could. The next one, number 2. More fun than a ferret down your trousers.
Wow.
Your options
That one's
are
Crash Bandicoot.
Game Gear, Neo Geo Pocket, or Game Boy? Brandon Jones.
Again, number one. I think that sounds more like Sega than Nintendo. I'll go with Game Gear.
Okay, Brandon's going with Game Gear. Again, your three options are Game Gear, Neo Geo Pocket, or Game Boy.
I'm saying Neo Geo Pocket on this one.
Okay.
I think it's got to be Game Gear. Yeah.
Okay. Guess what, panel? You're all wrong.
No way.
Yeah,
The
so
Game
something.
Boy?
Yeah,
Game Boy?
yeah. So
When?
something. Yep,
Wow.
yep. So it was the original. It was an original Game Boy advertisement, and it is a man that something is going on with his pants, and the slogan is more fun than a ferret.
Oh my god.
Down your trousers. Anyway, a point that I want to bring up.
That doesn't sound like fun.
Yeah.
Having a ferret.
No.
Yeah, that could be anything, really.
It was weird. So that's the thing about early Nintendo print ads is they're very weird and oftentimes very sexual. So I encourage you to go look at those. They're very.
They had a
interesting.
whole series where they like did this, you know, kind of like 50s vibe, like all these like black and white, like, you know, stay-at-home moms and Leave It to Beaver looking dads and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
Very Fallout.
And they, yeah, kind of that vibe. And then there was another one where like they had like the guy with the beast hair, I remember, and like
Yeah.
the red lights and everything.
Ben, I got a pitch for you.
Yeah.
You and I are going to start a video game magazine.
Oh my god.
No,
okay.
That is actually all I've ever
No,
wanted to
okay,
do in my
okay,
life.
all
Yeah.
right. But it's only going to have print advertising from the 90s.
Yes.
Every single page is just going to be ads.
Yes.
But they're
Are
all
these-
old ads.
Okay, and these aren't like old ads that we're making up. These are like actually old.
And these are
video
actual
games. Okay,
old ads.
Great, great.
And maybe like Highlights Magazine, we'll put a fake one in there. And
Okay.
we'll see who can find it.
Ooh,
Be like,
I
there's
like
a fake
this
one in
little
there. We'll see if you
competition.
can find it. Let us know.
I
really
think
good.
that is an
At
excellent.
gameadmagazine.com.
Our third question, or third slogan, not a third question, our third slogan, simple one. Size does matter.
Oh, yeah. Wait.
Your options are Knack, Katamari Damacy, or Pro Fishing Challenge.
Okay.
Brandon Jones.
Katamari, I would say.
Okay.
Katamari.
It's probably Knack, but
Okay.
Knack.
Pro Fishing Challenge.
damn it.
It is a woman holding
My
a fish
god.
for this game, Pro Fishing Challenge, which I have not played, and it just
Oh my
says
god, Ben, you're evil.
size does matter.
God.
I should have known the game that nobody would be familiar
Yep.
with.
Yep. Ooh, I like this. We've only
Oh
got
my god.
One, yeah.
2 points on the board so far.
The,
Let's see if we
the
can get this going.
misdirection is
Yeah.
top tier right
No,
now.
Very good.
I put some effort into this.
Is it Damashi? Have I been saying that wrong forever?
I believe it is Damacy, yeah.
It's like Buscemi and
Well,
Damacy.
it's a weird thing because
Yes.
it's spelled Damacy, but there's not actually like that sound in Japanese.
Correct.
So
Yes. Blood is completely correct on that. Yep. Slogan 4, you've got to be fast to last. Your options are A, Sonic the Hedgehog, B, Street Fighter 2, or C, Tetris.
fast to last.
I'll go Tetris. None of these feel right. None of this feels good at all.
Okay.
But I'll say Tetris.
I should. Never mind. I can't do it now. Anyway. I'm sorry.
I'm going to say Sonic.
Okay.
Tetris.
Okay. This is actually my fault. I think it would have. I think it would have informed your opinions. I meant to say it is actually Street Fighter 2 Turbo. It's that edition, so that might have changed your answers a little bit. So I messed that up.
Selling the fastness
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah. At the same time, it might have made it a little bit too obvious. But yes, it was actually Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So we keep not getting points, but that one was me. That was.
I would argue that if you play
Bit
that
more
game very
interference.
quickly, you're missing the nuance.
Yeah.
It's really not going to help you develop your skill necessary to be Street Fighter 2 if you play too aggressively.
Well,
It is your genre.
But no,
Yeah.
if you go back and you play the original Street Fighter 2 compared to Turbo or anything, it's just like,
right.
whoa, this is really slow. Why is it so slow?
All right. I'm not gonna rig this next slogan. I'll get this one right. 2 words on this one. Number 5. Gear up. Option A, Diablo 2. Option B, Splinter Cell. Option C, Metal Gear.
Just the franchise or like the actual first Metal Gear for the
First
NES?
Metal Gear for the
Okay.
NES.
What was the first one? Sorry, I forget all of them. Right,
Sure.
The second that you say them.
Diablo 2. Splinter
Diablo.
Cell.
Yeah, I'll go
Okay,
Diablo
Diablo 2. Splinter Cell and then Metal Gear.
So.
I'm saying Splinter Cell.
Okay. Daniel Bloodworth.
I'm gonna go Metal Gear. One of us got to get right.
Yeah.
Bloodworth is on the board. It is Metal Gear on the NES. Gear Up.
Gear up.
Yep, and it's actually a pretty cool ad. It just says Gear Up in the Metal Gear font, and then it's got a bunch of weapons all around it. So yeah, Gear Up.
Gear
Well
Up.
done, Blood.
Not something you would traditionally associate with Metal Gear, but at that time, Metal Gear wasn't really defined as much as it is now. So it's interesting. This one, different time.
Okay, this is scary.
Yeah, number 6, domestic violence.
Oh my.
Your options are A.
That's the whole thing.
That's it. That's the
Domestic
slogan.
violence.
That's the slogan of the ad. That is
Oh
the
my
slogan of the ad.
God.
Yeah, this.
Whoa.
It's like somebody trying to like get a
Whoa.
bad Google translation of Resident Evil.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say it.
It is.
Please let that be one of the picks.
It's trying to be edgy in a painful way, I think. Anyway, your options are Virtua Fighter, Loaded on the PS1. I don't know if you guys remember that game.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what that game is.
And then option C, Tao Feng Fist of the Lotus, which is a fighting game for the Xbox. It had the face, the cover of it was like a guy like gritting his teeth going, "Urgh." So those are your options.
I mean, Tao Feng is such a deep cut. I gotta go Tao Feng.
Mm-hmm.
Why would Ben bring up Tao Feng if it was
Tao
not?
Feng. Yeah, why would Ben bring up Tao Feng?
Don't underestimate.
What the hell?
Okay.
I'm saying Loaded. Screw it.
Okay.
I gotta follow my gut.
Loaded.
Virtua Fighter!
Wow. We all have 1 point.
What is the domestic?
Suzuki,
come
I
from?
apologize.
I don't.
I apologize, Mr. Suzuki-san.
Virtua Fighter.
I don't get what the reference to that is supposed to be.
Domestic violence?
What was the ad
Yeah.
to? Was it a man and a woman in the ad?
So it was an ad for the 32X version of Virtua Fighter, and I may be misremembering. It was 2 people playing it.
Oh, okay.
It was like, I think it was like a man and like a little kid, but I could be misremembering. It might be a man and a woman, but it's like 2 people playing in front of the TV and just like in red text is domestic violence. It's awful.
Wow.
I don't
Wow.
support that message, but it was a very bizarre ad.
But I will laugh at it.
Yes. I will laugh at that ad. I'm not laughing at the issue by any means. Don't mistake me, please. I was just gonna end it at 6 because I don't think the final 3 are as good, but I'm having so much fun that we might do a couple
We're
more.
also all tied.
Yeah.
You're also all tied. That's
Let's
a good point.
Let's
It's a
do
better
sudden
point.
death. Let's do sudden death.
Sudden death.
Sudden death.
First win brings us
Okay.
out.
Like I don't think these next 3 are as strong as the first 6, but okay. Number 7, no fear. Not no fear, like no understand fear. So no fear.
Ooh.
I mean, that's-
Silent Hill 3, Resident Evil 3, Clock Tower 3.
I'm going to say Resident Evil 3 because I remember this slogan, and I don't think I remember if it was Silent Hill. It's definitely not Clock Tower.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Silent Hill 3.
Okay.
Oh, it's Nemesis, dude. I know it's Nemesis. I'm so bummed right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Resident Evil.
It's Resident Evil 3.
Sucked.
And it is Nemesis just staring
Yeah.
at you ominously. And then it's like white text, but then like the K and
Here's
like the
my
F are
Resident Evil
red.
card. There you go.
Yeah, it is Resident Evil 3. Nemesis is that ad. So Brandon and Blood are actually tied now. So we gotta keep going until this breaks.
Okay.
But Hubert, we're gonna keep you in because that's not gonna be fun if you're not in it.
Catching up.
Okay. Become the ultimate warrior in the Ultimate War. Option A, Iron Sword, Wizards and Warriors 2.
Wow.
B, Bionic Commando. C, Life Force. All of these are on the NES.
The only one I know is Bionic Commando, and that sounds like it could possibly fit.
Doing the
That's
first.
I think that's obvious.
Going
It's
the-
the obvious play. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Are you? So you're doing Bionic Commando?
I'm doing Bionic
I'm
Commando.
doing Life Force.
Okay.
Got nothing to lose now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know all 3 of those games, and I can't see it being anything other than Bionic Commando.
It is Iron Sword, Wizards and Warriors 2.
Really? For Iron Sword?
We are still
Deadlocked.
deadlocked between Brandon and Blood. I only have one more,
Okay.
by the way.
The funny thing is, Iron Sword had like It was either Fabio or like a Fabio lookalike for the cover.
Nice.
Yeah, it is. It is the Fabio lookalike, and it says above him, "Become the Ultimate Warrior" and the Ultimate Warrior. Okay, our last one. Hopefully, we can get some sort of break here. The invasion has begun.
Independence Day.
That could be anything.
Yeah, I know. That's why I don't like these as much as they're a
Oh,
little bit more generic. Whereas I think the others are more specifically weird. Anyway, the invasion has begun. Option A, Halo. Option B, the original StarCraft. Or option C, Earth Defense Force 2017.
Earth Defense Force.
Okay.
Earth Defense. Wait, no. What was the first one?
Halo. So one more time. Halo, the original StarCraft, or Earth Defense Force 2017.
Going Halo.
Okay.
StarCraft.
Yeah, I think it might be StarCraft.
Daniel Bloodworth takes it! StarCraft.
Here's my StarCraft card.
I didn't see
Anyway.
how
Brings out
Invasion
Blood.
would make any sense for the first Halo.
Blood brings out.
Yeah.
Blood.
Brings out his frame trap.
You gotta break us out of our very first frame trap that we've been stuck in.
Yeah.
You can do it any way you want to. And
Yeah.
then you get to talk about what you've been playing.
I'm going to break us out with a leg sweep, of course. I mean, that's got to
What?
be the way to do it.
Demonstrate.
Demonstrate?
Yeah,
How
you
am I
can
gonna
sweep the
demonstrate?
leg?
The frame trap
I mean-
demands tribute.
I mean, I can do that. There we go.
There we go.
Oh!
That was the forbidden bottle of water. He has vanquished it. We're out of the frame trap. Thank you, Daniel Bloodworth. What have you been playing?
Oh, man, it's funny because like you especially and Hewer as well. Like you guys tend to play, I don't know, like 10 games at a time. And I get so tunnel vision on whatever the heck I'm on that I start forgetting other things that I've been playing. And like, but yeah, Watch Dogs 2
Watch Dogs 2.
just got done with the review, and yeah, it's weird. It's a weird position for me because I actually liked Watch Dogs. And it's
Right.
Too, literally.
and there's so many people that are out there who's like, wow, Watch Dogs, that guy was such a pain in the butt. Like, you know, it's like I like that game.
Me
But,
too.
I didn't think it was an atrocious game or anything like that. I just got a little bored after a while.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely things that I didn't like. Like, for instance, you know, when you're on those detective missions and, you know, they just kind of like splatter the icons across the map. It's like, well, I guess I'm not actually solving a case. I'm just going all over the map and picking up waypoints, you know, so that was sort of like one of the things that I didn't care for with Watch Dogs. And so with that, one of the kind of like revelations to me with Watch Dogs 2 is when I realized this game doesn't do towers. This game doesn't do territories. This game doesn't just throw everything on the map and, you know, tell you to go sweep it all up. It's designed differently than a lot of other Ubisoft games. And so to, you know, kind of like, you know how like in Forza, like if you drive by a billboard, then it will pop up on
Yep.
your map? That's basically how the collectibles are in Watch Dogs 2. It's like if you drive by something or if you walk near something, then it'll pop up on your map. But even then, it's like you do have to get kind of close to it because there was one thing, they have these things called key data. So like not only do you need enough skill points to unlock certain skills, but there are specific collectibles that you have to pick up to unlock that particular ability. And one of them was
Dopamine.
it was like at the docks,
Yeah.
like at the ferry building or whatever. And like I've been there before, but I hadn't been close enough to like put that on my map. You know, so it was interesting to, you know, like, oh, I actually have to look for things. You know, and then just like the whole way that open world is designed, and because, you know, one of the reasons I think like that stuff isn't fun in Assassin's Creed anymore is like you're literally just like walking over everything. It's like, okay, go to that thing and pick it up and pick this up and pick this up and pick and there's nothing stopping you because you can just kind of vertically scale over everything in Assassin's Creed and it's not a problem. Whereas in Watch Dogs, getting up a building is like a puzzle.
Yeah.
You have to Watch Dogs 2, like you have to figure out, okay, where's something that's like going to give me enough of a stepping stone to get up to the next level of the building. And then it's like, okay, now I can't go anywhere. Is there a vent nearby that I can put my RC car into and put my RC car up higher and then drop something else down? Or is there something I need to unlock? Or is there a lift nearby, which I guess this is one of the ways people are exploiting it. Somebody told me is people are just like taking scissor lifts and like driving them all over the city.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Blood, I have
So cool.
two questions for you. I really like hearing about this change in structure.
Yeah.
But question A, are the things that you're chasing after, these puzzles that you're solving, is the end reward worth it? Do you feel like like what you're getting is interesting? And option two, when you talk about these puzzles, you kind of had that in Watch Dogs 1, but the problem that I had with Watch Dogs 1 is like a lot of the puzzles felt very similar, where it's like, okay, raise this platform, get behind this fence, hack this thing. And it just kind of became a little one note. Do you think what you're doing to get to these things is more involved?
I think there's more elements that make them more involved,
Okay.
Because you do have the drone now, which you can kind of use to scout things out. You do have the RC car. You do have more things that you can hack, like all of these, forklifts. And then, like, if you hack a forklift, sometimes it works to just get on top of the forklift and jump off. But other times, they're like, okay, well, now you've got to actually, like, get a pallet and raise the pallet up, and that process isn't always that easy. Actually had one scenario where I was messing around the forklift, but there were a bunch of guards nearby, and they're like, got on the radio, like, hey guys, can you shut down the network over here? So and then they blocked me from being able to use the forklift.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, and there's also, I was really surprised at like these giant cranes that you can hack, and so there's just the scale of moving that thing around and like just being able to go across like a whole sweep of buildings, by lowering the basket, getting into it, and then just like going back and forth.
Ubisoft just commented on them not doing linear narratives anymore. Did you guys see that quote?
No.
Let me bring it up. You guys keep talking, and I'll.
I mean, there's definitely a linear narrative
Okay.
to Watch Dogs 2, but yeah. So, but on the other side of it, you have all these tools, but like I've been annoyed with the controls multiple times because you have a jump button with the RC car, but with Marcus you don't have a jump button, and so everything is like you just hold the R trigger and then you parkour over things, but it's like only if like the programmers painted that is being parkourable. So I don't know if you'll get this shot for the review, but I actually have this place where there's a boardwalk, right? And I walk up to one side of the boardwalk, and Marcus just kind of like stands against it. I go around to the other side, and he jumps over onto the boardwalk. And I'm like, what? Why? Why can I climb one side of this and not the other? And it's so just like it's weird, dumb things like that, because it's just it's just one of those things where you can't predict what you can do necessarily, because it's not about a set distance or anything. It's just about, has this been painted as being climbable? So that can be a little bit frustrating at times. To like have one of those lifts and like, okay, I've got this at a height, I can jump across over to that thing, and it's like, nope, I just fall.
Infinite Warfare, not to jump on you, but Infinite Warfare has some funny moments where, like, because you can like have your little double jump and you can fall from great distances, I would like look out of a window and be like, oh, I'm gonna hop down there, and like in midair I'm totally fine, and then I'll do like, and then the second my feet hit the ground, I'm like, you're dead. I'm like, what? It's just like, you're just not supposed to go over there. It's like, well, I didn't know.
He basically said that
Who is he?
Ubisoft CCO.
Okay, name.
Serge Hescoit.
Okay.
Said narrative in games should be more of an anecdote factory or a minor part of the game instead of forcing players to follow a narrative path. And he wants to give players freedom to continue the path of the story or venture off into other areas of the game before deciding when or if to return.
Okay.
And he says he wants to give you total control of where you go, what you do, and all that. Do you see like the foundation of that in Watch Dogs 2?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of see that in a way, because Watch Dogs 2 is really set up to distract you at any point. The collectibles are one thing to work, because you don't have all those collectibles just flooded onto your map. You walk by, you see an icon pop, and it's like, oh, there's something nearby, I can go do that. Same thing with a lot of the side missions. It's like you see some guy talking on his phone. It's like, oh, you can hack that guy for a side mission. It's like you get into that, and then you start doing the side mission rather than the main mission, or the whole thing with the hacking invasions when they come back online. You're just doing whatever you're doing, and somebody hacks you, and then you start chasing him, and then like, okay, well now where am I? What am I doing? After that's over. So it's definitely has that towards like, okay, I can start a main mission, or I can go off and do anything else, and there's nothing in the world that's blocked off to me. Like I said, there's not like territories to take over. There's like little spaces of like alleyways and things that people are guarding, but nothing that's like, you have to take over this huge part of the city or anything. So I can see a little bit of that. And the other thing too, which I don't want to repeat myself too much from the review, but the other thing too is in terms of what you're saying about context and urgency and all of that. Like one of the things they set up early on is that because they're hackers, what they're doing to increase their abilities to infiltrate the head company is they're getting followers. They're getting their popularity up, kind of like Forza, and everyone that downloads this app, it's kind of like that folding at home thing they did on the PS3.
Yeah.
It's this distributed computing thing. So like the more people that have the app, the more power you have to infiltrate this. And so everything that you do feeds into that because you're making yourself more popular and getting more followers and getting more people to download the app. So even if you're doing a motorcycle race or taking a selfie in front of something or whatever, like it gets you followers. So none of this stuff necessarily feels like it's taking away from your goal. It's actually kind of adding to it in a small way.
Interesting. Kind of speaking of the follower thing, Watch Dogs 2 has a much lighter, I would argue, tone than Watch Dogs 1, and its sense of humor and its use of pop culture, internet language is pretty prevalent. Does that stuff work? Like, is it welcome? Is it aggravating? Like, how did you feel about that stuff in Watch Dogs 2?
I think it's one of those things where it feels like a lot at first, but like as you get into it and you get to know these people, like it just sort of it feels like it makes more sense.
Okay.
It's like you see, there's a couple of characters like Wrench is, he's got all the spikes and he's got the funky mask and stuff, and so like everyone's like, oh, like these guys are just like weird extreme tryhards. But then you look at some of the other characters and it's like Josh is just a nerd in a hoodie. Horatio is just a guy who works at a tech company. Like they're not that off the wall, all of them. And even the ones that are a little bit more extreme, like you get to see a little bit more of their personality as well. So it's not that crazy. But you do, when you do a mission, they do have kind of, to cap it off, they have one of those crazy DedSec videos with like the jumpy cuts and things like that. And so it's like not in your face all the time, but they do, they crack jokes and they're pals with each other and that kind of thing.
Okay. For people that didn't like Watch Dogs 2, I think that's a fair amount of people. Do you think Watch Dogs, or not Watch Dogs 2, sorry, not speaking correctly, for people that didn't like Watch Dogs 1, do you think there's enough in Watch Dogs 2 to like warrant a purchase?
I mean, I would obviously try it out because it's, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it specifically necessarily turn people off. I think the attitude is definitely one of those things that could make the difference to where, it doesn't feel as brooding or anything like that. It's not really a revenge story. It's more of like, these guys, just trying to like hack the system or whatever, but it is weird because both games have like this really like pessimistic view of of corporations and the government and everything, and it's like
right.
It's like, oh, all these companies, they want to steal your data, and the FBI is all wrapped up in it and everything, and so it's like that stuff definitely feels a bit heavy-handed to it. It's like, okay, like I know this is like the conceit you need for your game, but it also is like it's so extreme that it's like beyond what you could like really swallow for a real world kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So but it is fun to play pranks on people and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm one of those that Aiden Pierce was a big turnoff for me in the original Watch Dogs. I just thought he was as generic as they come, and the hero. I've played a little bit of Watch This Soon. I can't remember the main character.
Oh, Marcus.
Marcus.
Yeah.
Is just so much more vibrant and interesting and likable. I think.
Yeah, he's a super friendly guy. And
Yeah.
one thing that, like, I usually don't care about clothing and customization in games hardly at all. But what's interesting is they put so much effort into it that you can kind of, sort of make Marcus your Marcus in a way, and like, what kind of stuff do I think this guy should wear? And so like I go through some of the clothing options and like, no, come on, what the heck, And so like there is some of that, like if I put on an outfit that looks like what Wrench would wear, and I'm like, no, that doesn't fit Marcus at all, and so it's interesting to see that. And they even have these little tour shops around the city, tours like you go to Alcatraz and you can get an Alcatraz shirt or and like not just one either. There's a whole list of t-shirts to buy at
Is
these
that
stands.
separate? Like you aren't forced to go to Alcatraz. You can just go there and like get customizable stuff.
Yeah. And then some of the collectibles are
Love that.
are
Love those
clothing as
things.
well. And you're talking about like whether the rewards feel worth it. I think in terms of like that open world stuff, it's not necessarily that like every reward feels worth the effort, but it's more like, number one, what everything is. They're not like these like strange cryptic things like animus fragments or letters or something. It's like I'm either gonna get a bag of money, which I don't need, so forget that, or clothing, which may be cool, maybe not, or research points, which is gonna like help me level, up my skills better. But it's the fact that actual putting in the effort is actually what makes it worthwhile to me.
Sure.
Like the fact that I actually have to do something interesting and like basically play a small level to get this thing is what makes it worthwhile, not the thing there. Because, like I said, like you can just run around the map in some of these other games. Oh, okay, I picked it up. Okay, I picked that up. And then it doesn't feel like you're doing anything except running around a map.
Besides Watch Dogs 2, has anything else been occupying your time? I know you've kind of trying to get that review out.
Yeah,
so.
I played a bit of the Gwent beta.
Yeah, I played a bit of the Gwent beta.
Yeah.
So jealous.
I think it's really good. Yeah. And I wasn't like I thought it was cool, but like I wasn't like singing the praises of Gwent in Witcher 3, which having gone back and played more Witcher 3, I think it is stronger than I initially gave it credit for. But I think I'm just very excited about it. I'm not trying to step on your toes. I think making it a standalone game, they've made some very smart decisions that like it's not just Gwent from The Witcher 3. It's more involved, it's more complex, but it doesn't lose that base simplicity.
Yeah, I actually worry that it is a bit too complex for like a starter who hasn't had that foundation of The Witcher 3's Gwent. There are so many nuances and details to everything to where it's like, how do I just like, how does somebody just like get into the basics of, oh, okay, here are these,
Play that campaign.
These 3 card, like here are
That'll
these
be the
3
tutorial.
tiers and here are how these cards work. It's like you have so many other things layered on top of it now. It's like, man, this is a lot to kind of swallow. And it's like one thing coming in with The Witcher 3 as a foundation, but if you have no foundation, it's like I wonder, how hard that is to catch on to everything that's going on.
I definitely think some of the intricacies with like the buffs and debuffs and like you can do some pretty insane combos in the Gwent beta, and that stuff is a little intricate, but I think at its base, like make your number bigger than the other guys is actually pretty intuitive and something that's been refreshing for me. Obviously, as like a big Hearthstone player, like seeing a bunch of games come out that feel maybe a little bit too much like Hearthstone. Gwent is not like play these minions, against each other, like take health away from this guy. Like it's different. Like it has elements of that, but it feels kind of fresh. I think in a genre that maybe needs a little bit of that more than I thought after playing it, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
What did they do with spies again? They made it like way better.
Well, the thing is yes, spies are really like the only thing now that really quantifies whether something's a spy or not is whether you put it on the other side of the board.
Okay.
Because they do so many different things. I had one that was like
Because in the base Witcher 3 game, it was like, yo, you need spies. Like the most OP card. You get some spies, you get extra cards, because it was just a matter of
that was basically what it was. It's like you put a spy on the other
you have
side,
more cards, you win.
and you get more cards.
Yeah.
But with I had one. I'm trying to remember what it did. I think it was like you basically put a witch on a stake on the other side of the board, and then you attack that witch, and when you kill it, then it has like a ripple effect and like just like blows up the rest of their cards. So it's like it's not at all. Yeah. And there's a lot of crazy little mechanics like that.
Wait, you can attack certain enemies now?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you
Yes.
can take strength
So-
away from cards, individual cards.
A lot of cards have an ability when you play them where it's like remove 2 strength or whatever amount of strength from an opposing card.
And then there are things that play into that to where if one card may change its strength based on whether other cards on your side get damaged. And then there's buffs that only apply to cards that have been damaged. And there's
Skellige in the game.
Yeah, Skellige deck's in there. There's a lot of cards that turn into bears and such.
There are, yes.
God, the fungus bear. I love it. I love it.
Something I have to say about the Gwent beta that is vastly improved from Gwent in The Witcher 3 is just like the level of presentation. I think it can't be overstated how quick the game moves. Like there's just a speed to it that I think is so vital and makes those card games like addictive and you want to play them. And just when you play a card, it feels really good. Like there's a nice flair. There's like a good quote, and the art on all of the cards is fantastic. Like Roach standing on top of a roof and Geralt just being there like scratching his head is really good. Yeah.
But it is funny that they've done things like that. I mean, that's specifically referencing a glitch people got in The Witcher 3. But the cow is specifically referencing an exploit that people did in The Witcher 3 in which they patched to address. It's really funny. And something like the cow, though, it shows the difference because it starts getting into these mind games. Because basically the cow, you put it down and it's got 1 strength. But
if you use the fungus or kill it or whatever, it
changes into a chort that has 9 strength. And so you can put that down, and it doesn't matter. Like, there's a lot of different ways that swap can happen because you can put it down and somebody can attack it, and then your comes out. Or you can put it down at the end of the round, and when your cards go back into the graveyard at the end of the round, then it swaps out. But then, like, how you do that and what people do with it, it can be really varied. And, and if you revive the cow, then you can get another chort, And so there's really, like, it's like a really easy thing to see how like those mind games and what people do with things changes compared to what you would do against an AI.
Very cool. Very hype.
Dan Blair, do you have anything else to throw at me?
What else? I finally got around to playing Inside. I don't remember if I did that before we talked before.
No, I don't think so. We've talked about Inside several times in the show.
Yeah,
I don't think
so I don't want to go on it too much.
Okay.
But game's super cool. Definitely a good game to play through in the dark with the sound up. Really good audio design.
Really good audio design. Okay.
And just it kind of goes beyond what you might expect, even though it definitely has that same sort of Limbo feel in terms of how things move and kind of the macabre kind of it's like you see piles of bodies and that kind of thing, and you're hunted and you don't know why, and just trying to figure out what it all means, and then it definitely, I think it's like one of those games that's designed for everyone to debate about what the heck just happened.
Well, one of my favorite things about that game is that we have so many games with dumb titles now. Just like there's super long titles. You have to have like a subtitle and then a title after that. Or like if it's a new game coming out and it has this like amazing, 1-word title. I'm like, oh yeah, we never had a game called that. And then I find out later, it's like, oh, they added on some like, Rise of the Ancients. Like, oh, come on. Like just call your game something and be proud of it. And I love that like Inside means like 8 different things. If you really think about it, like that means a lot, like there's a lot of it, especially like, you get near the end and it's like, oh, that's a very interesting interpretation of that word, and so I like that it's a concept you can tell the whole team was in on, and they're constantly referencing like, what does that mean? Is that an emotional thing? Is that a physical thing? Is that, are you wanting to get inside a place? Are you trying to get inside of your mind? Or,
I actually, you're totally right. That's a very strong part of the game, and I do think you could apply a lot of those things to Limbo as well. And
sure,
what that
which
means
I'm tempted to go
context.
back and play. I never played Limbo.
And speaking of going back to Limbo, so I played Limbo when it came out, loved it, and then eventually played Inside. But after playing Inside and then going back to Limbo, it's a really informative thing to do. And if you have played Inside and Limbo, I actually encourage you to go back because Limbo is still a good game. but it's much simpler and much more basic.
Right.
And just on every single level, they take such a huge step up. Thematically, the puzzles, just how they use like the art design to say things is just much stronger all around. So it's very interesting to directly compare the two, for sure.
Nice. And then I've got a TV show recommendation for Huber. I don't know if you saw my tweet or not.
A TV show recommendation from Bloodworth. Mark it down.
On BBC, the Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. Have you checked this out at all yet?
No.
What? Sorry, I didn't get that. What was it?
Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
You gotta watch this.
So
wanted
it's
me too.
Douglas. I think Douglas Adams. I think it's the guy who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Nice.
Wrote this book as well, and I guess it's been turned into a series before that I haven't seen. Some people, I guess, prefer that one, but I just like the way that everything is introduced, and the acting and everything it's really just it's a crazy, weird, fun show to watch because you've pretty much no idea what's going on, and so many things feel so random. But like as each episode progresses, like more and more things start to fill in the puzzle pieces, and it's just kind of this concept where this really weird, quirky, eccentric guy, he's a detective, but he doesn't look for clues. Like things just sort of happen around where he is, and it also sort of starts filling in the pieces just based on like each little bit. But at the same time, like there's all these other characters. Like, what is that guy? What is this guy? There's this whole plot line with somebody who she considers herself a holistic assassin, and so it's like everyone she meets, she kills, but she's never killed the wrong person, and she can't be killed. And but it's weird is like a lot of the times her dialogue will mirror Dirk's dialogue, but so far their stories are not connected at all. And so it's interesting to think about, okay, what's going to happen when these two eventually get together. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
How many have there been?
I can't remember how many episodes I've seen so far. Maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6. But it's obviously going to be like a one series thing. I don't think they're going to go on beyond that. But yeah, Elijah Wood's in there, and just it's just a fun, weird, crazy show to watch.
Cool. I can't get. I'm so happy that you brought a TV show recommendation. Like, I feel very compelled to go check this out. As I mentioned before, I have to talk about Dishonored 2. I have to. I'm so in love with that game because on this show multiple times I've expressed heavy disinterest because
Me too.
the advertisement and the marketing, it just didn't draw me in, and I think now that I've played through Dishonored 2, I'm like almost done with a complete playthrough of Corvo and Emily. That's how much I love it. Like I can't stop playing it, and I'm collecting everything. It is a game that I think if you watch people play it, and I streamed it, and people were saying this, they're like, oh, it looks a lot like Dishonored 1. Or, like, okay, this is kind of what I expected. I think at a glance it totally does. But it is the more subtle things that make Dishonored 2 such a spectacular game. And I think the biggest thing that has going against it is it doesn't start very strong. Mm-hmm. I don't like the introduction. It is in a way a very similar setup to Dishonored 1. The voice acting isn't great. You're not attached to these characters. It's just like a thing happens and then you kind of get thrown into this world.
Yeah, it's funky.
It doesn't really grab you. And then I think what actually makes Dishonored 2 so cool, I haven't played without the powers yet. That's an option that you can do. But I don't know if I would want to, because I think how much freedom and creativity the powers give you are what make that game special. Much like Dishonored 1, but here you just have so much more to draw from. Like, it's exciting playing both Corvo and Emily, because while they have like sort of the same base, the way that they expand is very, very, very different, and super, super fun. Like, just the things you can do, and I've said this before on stream, so if you've already like heard this, like Emily can make a decoy, like something that can distract guards. That's not all that creative on its own, but you take the domino ability and you tie it to an enemy, and then you can tie it to your decoy, so they'll go and they'll attack the decoy with swords, and they'll just cutting themselves to pieces. And no one tells you to do that. There's no prompt. It's just like the ways they kind of have enough stuff in there that you can combine it in really interesting ways. And holy shoot, I'm trying to swear less, but I'm very excited, and when I'm excited, I tend to swear. Karnaka is just a way more interesting city than Dunwall, just on every level. Dunwall was... There are really great places in Dunwall, but
started out really strong.
Yes.
Yeah, and then just kind of...
It's just kind of drab and dreary, and obviously that changes if you go chaos and there's more rats around and stuff. But Karnaka is just this like immaculately bright, detailed city, and the level design in this game is insane.
It's the best.
It is insane. Like best level design of the year in my opinion, where you kind of get this layout present in front of you, and you're like, okay, I see that I can go up there, or like I can go through here, or I can use my powers to get in this way, and you're like, okay, this is what I would expect. But then you take any one of those routes, and they just keep branching off, and they keep getting more nested, and you're like, oh my god, this place is way bigger than I thought it was. Like almost every mission, like you get a ton of space to explore, and it's really, really exciting because what they put in the corners, what they tuck in there is so interesting. That's where
and
you
meaningful.
get... Yeah,
There's
and
so
meaningful.
much stuff.
Like, I don't think the overall story is that good, but the mini narratives that you uncover, the deeper you get, are super interesting.
Busting into a random room, like, way off the beaten path, and someone's in there, like, praying and stuff, and, like, worshipping things, and that, like, leads to a code in the safe, and you bust open the safe.
Yes.
So cool.
Yeah, and, I can't, like, some of the bone charms I think are a little boring. Like
bone charms were super boring for me.
A lot of them are really boring, and I think the point is like they give you just a very tiny benefit, and you're meant to like get a whole bunch of them. But even after getting a whole bunch of them, I'm like, I don't want to use 75% of these. Like, I'm not having to make really interesting decisions here with these bone charms. But kind of like Blood was talking about with Watch Dogs 2, the act of getting them is worth it. Like, I don't even care that they're most of the time not that cool, because the puzzles that you have to solve and how you have to think about the environment, like there were moments where I was like reminded of The Witness. Like that's how creative they got, and I felt like they weren't repeating themselves a lot. Like at first it starts out pretty basic, where it's like, okay, find a way to break this thing that's blocking the door, or like blocking this thing from like floating downward. But eventually you have to manipulate time and space, and it gets really, really, really cool, and it's way more difficult than what you have to encounter in the main game. And like, I love games where the more you put into it, the more you get out of it, and the more you enjoy it, and that is absolutely Dishonored 2.
And it respects you.
It does respect you.
It respects you so much. It's like even on normal, the enemies are super intelligent. They're super aware of their surroundings. There was a moment when
you were saying that they will notice if somebody's not on their patrol.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
That's huge for a stealth game. That makes a gigantic difference.
There's not only that. I busted in a place and I like frantically like opened the door and got in, and then a second later, the guy's like, "Why is that door open?"
Yep.
Comes strolling over, and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
That's so
They're
good.
so smart and intelligent that it makes you respect every second of that game, and on both ends, it's like simply sneaking past them is rewarding because they're so smart. You feel like you accomplished something. And then even when enemies aren't around and you're just sneaking through buildings, it's like you're in that mindset of like, there are people out there. Like, I gotta stay cautious. I gotta stay calm. I gotta stay aware of my surroundings. That was like the linchpin of the game for me, was how much the enemies were a threat.
I know you feel me on this because we've complained about it with each other before.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stand in stealth games where they won't recognize you unless you're right in front of their face or like at their feet. Yeah. So you can it'd be clear as day, and like any normal person could see you. You're 25 feet, 50 feet away, and they're just like, all right, going about my business.
Yeah.
Not so in Dishonored 2.
Nope.
Like, daytime, if you're just running around the city, or even if you're crouching and you're within reasonable eyesight, they'll get that thing up immediately. And it's
like pretty far.
If you're freaking far.
Crouching in the sunlight, like, they've got you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Something I actually think Titanfall 2 also does really well in its campaign that I really admire in Dishonored 2 that I didn't get in Dishonored 1. In Dishonored 1, I felt like it was a great game that had some like outstanding missions where I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really clever. But then there were a lot of other missions where I'm like, okay, like I'm just sneaking through. I don't really feel like there's that one big hook. In Dishonored 2, pretty much every mission there's a unique hook to it that is so
They're all their own.
clever. Like the Clockwork Mansion and how different platforms are rising and falling and the total landscape is constantly changing. And then those robots where you can disassemble them in a bunch of different ways. Or the Dust District where just every so
Don't spoil
often... What's it?
Don't spoil it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like...
They all have their own identity.
Right, and I couldn't rely on the same line of thought with each mission,
Totally.
and I think that's so important in a game like this that encourages flexibility and play your own way. A lot of times people say play your own way, but that doesn't really matter if you're not engaging me in exciting ways that I want to. Like I want to play differently, and I think that's so cool.
One thing I like a lot about Hitman, and I think is going to be like where stealth games need to go, and where I'm excited to see them make developments, is not only the AI, not only how far that they'll notice you, or how quickly they react, how deadly they are, but following this. And Arkham kind of started to do this, where like you're examining the persistent state of someone's attitude as you're stalking them, like in stealth, so that if you have someone that discovered you and goes over and you're gone, that they're not cool with that. So now they're like, and maybe like if they see another guard, they'll tell that guard, I was just chasing somebody and they're gone, be on your guard. And now that person's, like, so it's not only that person spotting you in that room, that you heard them talk out loud and like talk through what they're discovering and what they're thinking. And like, I've picked up a lot of moments in Hitman like that, where like a guard will say something and I'm like, that was a fairly articulate response to what I just did. Like,
right.
So it's not just the thinking and the difficulty, but the expression of that as well. So.
I thought the combat was not as strong as the stealth. Kind of held
I actually disagree with that.
things back a little bit for me.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot of like mashing attack into them and then it like doing the kill animation. I thought the powers and like the weapons and the pistols added some flair to things, but like even on hard, it was a lot of just like, all right, block, mash him with the sword, mash him with the sword.
So,
Keeper's a fan of mashing.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of see where you're coming from, but two things kind of prevented it from being that for me, where you want to parry and then get that instant kill, because it actually, if you are just mashing or just swinging, it actually takes for a lot of guards a while to kill them.
Well, you get that like charge attack. You open with that.
Yeah, one-on-one, it's pretty straightforward and it's not that difficult, but in Dishonored 2, when you take a hit, like, goodbye most of your life. One hit just absolutely destroys you, and
Definitely.
like gunshots hurt you a lot too. And it is.
I was always fully stocked with health potions too. I never had like less than 8 or 9. You
do
just
get a lot
thought-
of health potions. I agree with that.
And I just thought stealth was so strong and so complex, and all the powers and everything, that when it was open combat, again, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I just thought open combat was fine.
I think the other thing is like a lot of times I wasn't fighting one-on-one because I do think the AI is pretty strong. When I did get spotted, I would suddenly have 7 guys, and early on, especially, you're not very well equipped to deal with that. Like, your blocking isn't going to work because you might be blocking one guy, but you have 3 other guys hitting you. And like I said, it really hurts when you get hit. I will agree, though, that if you go out of your way to get plenty of runes, the powers are so strong that eventually, like, I could be taking out a group of guys with no problems. Like, I had so many like weapons.
Swarm.
Yeah, Devouring Swarm is really
Oh my
strong.
God.
Domino is really strong. Grenades can be really strong. Like, eventually, in the in-game, combat itself was not all that taxing. But I think the limitations they put on you in the level design still keep it interesting.
And combat 2 hurt low chaos for me and or stealth.
Yeah.
Because when I'm stealthing and I'm going low chaos and I'm trying not to kill anyone, it was overly reliant on the parry choke combo.
Sure.
That was like it was so much, and like having to wait for the enemy, like some of the later enemies like will kind of like attack and go back, or like they'll just stand there for a second and wait to attack you. So it's kind of like you're standing there, it's like, all right, I gotta like wait to parry this and then choke, because you don't get a lot of like sleep darts is your main thing for stealth. You don't.
But
get a
I
lot of
like
those.
that you don't get a lot of those.
Totally.
So we were talking about with
So it's-
the health potions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like so many health potions, none of the sleep darts, so now I'm just like waiting to parry.
Yeah, there is an awkward dance where
Yeah.
like that is really your only option,
Yeah.
or like like because you also get low on mana pretty easily. For as powerful as the abilities are, you can't spam them, and that is something I respect. But yeah, there is that really awkward, like kind of not fun dance when you're just waiting to parry. I agree with that. Cool. I think you should play.
But
Dishonored
there's so
2.
many, and that's the beauty of it, Ben. There's so many things. Like you were saying, oh, I wouldn't do it with no powers. Like there are people out there doing speed runs with no powers. Like there's so many avenues to play that game. It's beautiful.
And
it's art.
I played Dishonored 1 immediately after I finished my Emily playthrough of Dishonored 2, and like the AI is just nowhere near as intelligent, and like there's a marker for like didn't get seen by anybody, and normally in a game I can do that. Dishonored 2, even if I'm playing it's so freaking hard. And I like that challenge. I want to go and I want to do that. That's fulfilling to me.
Beth brought up an interesting point. We always get in arguments about video games being art because not very fine argument, not angry or anything. Totally. What's the word I'm looking for? Diplomatic?
Sure.
Civil, yes. Right. Because so many games you're killing people. And so many games are for entertainment, and sitting down watching Dishonored, she goes, I can see in this game the argument for art because you're being rewarded for not killing people and being rewarded for patience and exploration. And I thought that was good insight.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something that strengthens that even more is I don't like it, and I actually think Hitman is kind of this way. I think Hitman's a great game, and you hear people say, well, you can go in guns blazing if you want.
Which is very hard in Hitman.
It is very hard.
Oh, yeah.
But like, I actually don't.
Not that good.
I don't think it feels as good as being sneaky.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about Dishonored 2, is the combat doesn't feel as good as being sneaky.
Sure, but I'm doing a high chaos run with Corvo right now, and holy hell am I having a great time zipping around stabbing people.
It's a relief after sneaking through the entire game.
It is.
But it's like, okay, now I can just kind of let out that aggression.
Yeah. But there are ways you can, like, just how you can be really creative with silently taking people down, you can be really creative with just blowing people up. And it's fun, and I'm having fun with it. And I don't feel bad for playing very aggressively and very stupidly. I'm enjoying it just as much, but I like that because it's easier, the ending is more cynical. You might miss out on some really cool opportunities. Yeah. I think that is a fair checks and balances kind of thing.
And how many extra things did you find on your second way through? Found all these rooms. It's like, oh, what is this painting?
And you can and I was so methodical in that first playthrough, and there's still just a ton I missed. And you get to that end mission screen, and it's like, oh, I missed a lot.
It's like, oh.
Yeah. It's cool.
I'm creeping through this game. I missed like 60% of that stage. What the hell?
Yeah. I think it's a good video game.
Yes. I will be... Ben, you should join me. I want to do an entire episode on one of the stages in that game that we will not spoil today.
Please. Please, I would love to.
Yeah.
It would be an honor.
I didn't even mention this part in the review because it's just...
I know exactly what you're talking about, and you're right. It does not deserve any... I mean, it does deserve mention, but it deserves to not be spoiled.
Totally.
Moving on... I have to do this because it means so much to me, so I apologize. This is not very interesting for the three of you, but there is a new Metallica album out, and Metallica means a lot to me for very personal reasons, but I also just think they're an incredible band. I think, like, I love the first four albums, like everybody loves the first four albums, but Master of Puppets particularly I think is perfect, and like, say what you will about later things, but that band has done a body of work to me that is like intouchable.
I don't care for them, but they're legends.
They're legends, and it's fine if you don't like them, but and I don't think their new album, which is Hardwired to Self-Destruct, is perfect by any means. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's the most glorious heavy metal I've listened to this year or anything like that, but just there are things on it for me that are fantastic. There's this song called "Spit Out the Bone," and you have these guys that are getting up there in their mid 50s, they're pushing 60, like they're just I feel like I'm going back in time. I feel like it's 1986 again. And no, maybe it's not as good as like a Battery or Disposable Heroes or Master of Puppets or Black and
alive in 1986?
No, but I like that music, Bloodworth.
Like I remember when that stuff came out. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, okay.
no, I wasn't alive. You could definitely call me out on that. That's funny, but
Hey, watching Terminator feels like we're back in like 1980 something. You know?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I don't have to be alive to go back
No,
in time.
I was born in 1989, so and Justice for All that year. But anyway,
Is there still a lot of this? Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, there is. I don't think it's quite as egregious.
Okay.
But what I like about this album is like Spit Out the Bone. You know, I was talking about taking me back in time. Like there are songs that sound like they're from Load and Reload, and those certainly aren't my favorite albums. But there are a lot of things I respect. Like this is metal / hard rock that grooves and like finds a place, and like there's kind of something for everybody. Like wherever you came in on the Metallica train, like you know Black Album, Kill 'Em All, Master of Puppets. Load, Reload, like there's something here for you, and I love it. And they've done a video for every single song.
Dang.
Wow.
And some of those videos
Dang.
are really cool. And my favorite, and one of my favorite songs on the album, is Halo on Fire, which is kind of a cheesy name, but the video is just like there are a circle of fans surrounding them, and they just look like they're having a good time. And James is like in the crowd jumping around, and I think Death Magnetic, it's an album that I love. It was the album before this. I really like it, but it felt like a band that was trying to figure itself out and trying to recapture that former glory. Where here, they're just confident, they're just having a good time. Like,
Charlie.
you know, like whatever. We have our history. We're not ignoring that, and we're confident in who we are. And here's this album. The production is much better than it was on Death Magnetic, and James's voice sounds so good.
Nice.
He sounds better than he sounded at a long time, and like. Dude pulls his weight.
Yeah.
Like he's a metal icon that is not like resting on legacy. Like Dude can still play rhythm guitar like a motherfucker, and he can get you pumped. Like he'll sing a chorus or a harmony, and you're like, yeah, James, like, let's go. Definitely a personal hero of mine. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know, saying a new Metallica album is out is maybe not all that interesting for viewers. So I did want to
I
take.
totally think it is because it's their legendary band. You know,
They
it's
are.
like a new Stones album or something comes
Right,
out. It's a
yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
I don't even care for Metallica, and I think it's a big deal when they come out with a new album.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a new era for Metallica? Like they've turned a page.
I do.
Exciting.
It's sometimes with legacy metal bands where like you feel like you're not going anywhere. Like not that it's bad, but it's maybe just a little bit boring. And this is an album that people are gonna not like, and this is an album that people are gonna love. And I think that makes it infinitely more interesting. I do think it is a new chapter. It's not just Death Magnetic again, which is cool for sure. But yeah, well, this does have value. There's just something I have to say. There's another band that I want to talk about very briefly. A recommendation for all of you, kind of like what I did with Courtney Barnett, which is this is the exact opposite end of the spectrum. This is American black metal, which I think when you hear those two words, black and metal, together, it turns a lot of people off. But I think this band is outstanding. I was looking for new metal to listen to, and this name just kept popping up, and I'm glad it did. They're two guys from Colorado called Cobalt, and
Chevy Cobalt.
yeah, they have an album out, Slow Forever, and there's a song that I want people to get started with if they do decide to give it a chance called Beast Whip, and
Beast Whip.
yeah, it's just a lot of metal is just very aggressive and you know very in your face and and I think a lot of people can do that, and I think a lot of times it can sound very similar, but I think there's something even more impressive where you can create this wall of sound, this nuclear blast, and everything feels very meticulously placed. Like, despite the chaos that's going on in your ears, everything is just so considered and impressive. And these songs, they like morph and change over time, despite screaming, despite like just the shrieking guitars. There are moments of quiet that makes sense. Kind of like almost in an Opeth situation, more aggressive than more recent Opeth stuff.
Kind of like Dishonored
but
2's level design.
kind of like Dishonored 2's level design.
Everything
And,
just makes sense.
Yeah, when I think about heavy metal that I love, I like thrash metal or power metal or progressive metal. There is black metal that I really, really like, but no, Cobalt has blown me away. And you know, it's not for everybody, but please check it out, guys. So.
I can't remember. Have you heard S&M, the Symphony of Metallica?
I
album?
have.
You have?
I
Okay.
have, yes.
I was talking to someone recently, and they were a big Metallica fan and didn't even know that existed. And I was like,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to metal in a really long time. Brad he needs to be here for this conversation. He loves
Yeah.
metal.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't really dug into it with him, and that
Yeah.
might be something that would be fun to
Like
do.
high school, we were super into it so much. So it's kind of like new phase, you know? Music is all about phases of your life. And yeah, maybe that's why. Just kind of had one foot out.
Yeah, and people might disagree with me, but something I get really upset about is when they're like, "Oh, you haven't outgrown heavy metal." I think it's just like a condescending.
Yeah.
Oh, video games aren't art?
Right. Yeah, that kind of thing. Like, I think it is totally cool and fun if you don't like heavy metal. Like, it's not for everybody. I don't like every genre of music either. Like, people have preferences. There's nothing wrong with that. But to say there's no value there, or to be like, oh, that's just for these types of people, is really gross to me. Like, please don't do that.
Well, to me, it's like the horror genre. It's just
Right.
like there's so many misses. I see so many bad horror movies throughout the year.
Sure.
You see one good one, and it reaffirms your
Yeah.
opinion of the genre as a whole.
Yeah.
And like,
Ouija.
I have quiet you.
Seriously.
And I have friends that are like in theater that write musical theater and do like costuming and are just like Shakespearean actors that like love Metallica. That are just
Yeah.
like they're like I actually am not really into that genre, but I've heard enough of that band to recognize those guys know what they're doing. Like
Yeah.
as a group of very talented musicians.
It's been so long that I felt this way, but like listening to some of this music,
Yeah, I'm
I was
pumped.
like, I wanna.
I'm buying this the second
Yeah,
you walk out
I'm
the door.
Spotifying this on the way
Please
home.
do.
Yeah.
Just my own recommendation. I think some songs are going to hit harder than others. Please listen to Spit Out the Bone.
Okay.
Please listen to Halo on Fire.
Got it.
Gotta go in order, man. It's a story.
It is.
Not jumping
It is.
ahead.
Okay. All right. I just want. It
respecting
means
it.
so
He was
much to me
committed.
that I
Yeah.
want people
He's
to
not
like
gonna
it.
bail midway through.
Yeah.
But no, man. I want to go out and I want to buy a guitar and I want to play and I want to like feel that. Oh,
I want to listen to Metallica while I play Dragon Quest Builders.
yeah.
That's my goal.
gosh.
That's my goal for this today.
I've been playing Pokemon and listening to this stuff and it's so good.
For real though, Ouija, Origin of Evil.
All right.
I'm not kidding around. It's a good movie. Speaking of Pokemon,
Yeah. Pokemon.
tried playing that yesterday.
What's the story?
Tried playing Pokemon.
Here we go.
My memory card wasn't big enough to download the game.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm rocking my Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3DS that's like this big. You know, there have been like 10 new 3DSs.
It has nothing to do with the 3DS. It's just the SD
Yeah.
card.
So I've never run into this problem before because, again, I don't really play a lot of handhelds.
Uh-huh.
And went to go download went to go download
Sure.
the game. It says
No.
you need this many more blocks. I legitimately deleted everything.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yep.
Not enough.
Huber, the same
So-
thing happened to me.
Are you serious?
I tried to download Pokemon and said, you don't have a room. You know what I did? And something that I respect about Nintendo,
yeah.
I went to Walmart, I bought a $10
That's what I'm
32
doing
SD
right
card.
after this. I'm going to Best Buy immediately after this.
It takes 2 minutes
Yeah.
to swap those things out.
Perfect.
And I think it's so much better than being like, oh man, I'm rocking this 4 gig Vita card. I've got to
Yeah.
pay this absurd amount for this
$50.
proprietary. Yeah.
I'm going right after this. It's
Cool.
mission number 1.
I'm excited. I really want to talk to you about it. And I really want to talk about Pokemon Sun and Moon. I don't want to spoil it too much for you guys because I know you're into it. So we're going to turn this into today's... That's my favorite thing to do in the world.
I don't
Okay.
get many. I think that's like my maybe second or third Hatake in person in my life.
Yeah.
So I feed on them.
Cherish
Yeah,
it.
it gives
Yeah.
me whiplash.
That'll see.
I want to talk about Pokemon kind of generally, and I want to talk about Pokemon Sun and Moon because we have very diverse opinions amongst the Easy Allies about Pokemon, and we've had these conversations before, but I think now that Sun and Moon are out, we can kind of reevaluate this conversation again. Just kind of how you personally feel about Pokemon, what bothers you about Pokemon, where it's going, and to kind of spearhead this conversation. There was a article from Eurogamer saying, "Hey, a version of Sun and Moon might be coming to the Switch, or is coming to the Switch."
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Is it, like
Excited.
okay? Let's just jump in
Yes.
right there. Why does that make you excited?
Because for me, again, I have not played Sun and Moon yet, but for the longest time with that franchise, the scope
Right.
has not been there.
Yeah.
And I attribute it to because it's on a handheld. You know, the story and everything, sure, it sets up all these regions and like, yeah, it's a big world. But playing through Pokemon, I have not had the feeling of going on a huge adventure in a huge world and discovering all these things since like I was young playing Red.
So tell me, Michael Huber.
Yeah.
You're talking about this scope.
Yeah.
I think I understand where you're coming from, but what if I gave you Pokemon, right? And I said, make it. How would you include that scope? What differences would you like implement there?
I just think it has to do again with like playing on a handheld versus playing on the Switch or something more powerful.
So you're saying like how it looks?
How it looks, yeah. Going into a town and feeling the town versus like top down. You're seeing a couple buildings, seeing the gym. Like, holy crap, man! I want to boot up the Switch, enter that world, turn a corner, and lose my breath at the sight of a gym.
You don't want it to feel so segmented.
I want it to be this massive, foreboding structure where I'm just like, oh my god, I need to go conquer that gym. I need to go train. Like, I want that feeling, and I can't make myself have that feeling when it's on handheld.
I totally respect this opinion. I am curious to see how you feel after you play Sun and Moon, because the thing I want to talk about...
That's why I'm excited, because I hear that it's this journey and that the region is huge, and I have heard that it captures that feeling.
Not to speak in hyperbole, because it can be annoying when people do this, but I absolutely think it is the best looking 3DS game I've played. Like Alola looks fantastic. Like, what they're squeezing out of this clearly outdated console is awesome, and just the vibe that it gives. And I think Alola, kind of this tropical feel, this specific feel, is way more dramatic and like well implemented than the inspiration scene in X and Y or Ruby and Sapphire or Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah.
I think like everything you do, and just like seeing birds fly overhead, and just the music, everything comes together in a way that like I feel more immersed in this Pokemon game than like the last 4 that I've played.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, is it feels like more like a normal, like a more like really 3D, just like walking around and stuff like that. Like you're not like, you don't have like these distant wide camera shots like you're talking about. It's like you're following your player character. And I haven't even got a Pokemon yet. I just like walked up the road and saw some cutscenes, but even that, it's like, like you have these cutscenes and these characters that get introduced very quickly, and it's like, okay, what's going on with this person? So it definitely feels like there's a bit more to it just from the 20 minutes whatever I put in so far.
I want to bounce off that, because I think it is again the very little things and conveniences that make this a strong game and an interesting Pokemon entry, because camera angles that they use for story sequences, it is not just two people sitting there talking to each other. It is like, okay, we have an action scene, we're gonna like use the camera this way, we're gonna follow the person this way, or we're gonna go up here, and it just feels more dynamic and interesting when these events are happening, and so you're more invested. The other thing that I really love, and they've done this before, but I think they do it early on right away, is you don't have gyms anymore in the same way. There are these island challenges, and you have sort of these trainers that are like responsible for these island challenges. They're going and they're getting involved in the story, and they feel like characters. They're not just, okay, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to fight your minions, and then I'm going to fight you, and then I'm going to get this thing, and then I'm going to go on. Like, you're developed as a character earlier on, and you matter more to me, and there's more of a build up here. Cool. And I think that matters. And even more minor things than that, like when a trainer sees you and you initiate a battle, like when you get close, the screen, like, there's like a black border that appears, like, oh, you're getting close to somebody, and then an exclamation outline appears, and like it happens within rhythm to the music that's playing. Yeah. Or when you pick up an item and it does that familiar song, but it does it with like, a ukulele. It's cool. Just little things like that. There's a consistency present that I think is rad.
Again, my time is super brief, but one thing I don't like.
Yes.
When I walk around a room and I get that noise, burr, burr, burr.
I don't like that
what
either.
the heck?
Yeah.
I don't need that. I don't
When
need
you're,
a
like, hitting a
buzzer to
wall?
tell me that I'm touching a wall. Yeah.
Oh, weird.
That's weird. Can you turn that off?
That's why I looked in the options. I was like, is it catching? No. I can't.
Oh,
It is very annoying. Yeah.
that's weird.
Yeah. So we talk about Pokemon going forward, and we've had the Pokemon Go phenomenon, and I want to talk about that because do you think now that some time has passed that was just sort of a flash in the pan and that's going to die down? Can they reinvigorate that? How does that compare to a more traditional experience with Pokemon? Or do those audiences overlap quite a bit? Or are they very distinct? Like, how do you feel about the state of Pokemon right now?
I think this moment is like the biggest Pokemon will ever be again. Bold statement.
Whoa.
I think Pokemon Go was a flash in the pan. Numbers have proven that it was. They had an update that kind of resurged some numbers, but then it fell right back down. And I think it's the biggest it'll ever be because Pokemon Go brought in millions of non-Pokemon fans. And I just don't see a new Pokemon game bringing in the amount of fans that Pokemon Go brought in. So I think, this moment, an actual game releasing just after the Pokemon Go zeitgeist, I think this is the culmination. This is it.
So you're saying that
But Pokemon
This is
will
going-
always... Sorry.
so it will
It'll always be
have
big.
right, but you don't think that it will maintain this level. Is
No,
that right?
I don't think it ever could. It was...
Sure.
Pokemon Go was
But-
a cultural phenomenon for a minute.
Do you think a Sun and Moon version on the Switch may be able to keep that going? Because they haven't done that before, right?
Yeah.
They haven't had this handheld version and then brought it over quite like this, to my understanding. Do you think that...
I think it'll be big, but I just don't know if the install base will be there.
Okay.
Everyone has a phone. Even if Switch sells through the roof,
Sure.
it's not going to be as large.
The thing is, though, yeah, I mean, yeah, Switch will be definitely a weird situation. But the thing is like, people have kind of like thought that about Pokemon, like for a long time. There's like, yeah, it's not as big as it was, and like maybe people aren't talking about it as much, but it's consistently just getting bigger. Right. It's bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and like even this, they're talking about like Pokemon Sun and Moon. It's like record numbers for what they've shipped for launch. So it's it's kind of crazy because I feel like it's one of those things that even if a lot of people aren't talking about it, they're still sort of playing it behind the scenes, and so I think it's a kind of game that's still attractive to young players, which is something that we don't get a lot of. So it's like you have all the people that grew up with Pokemon, and then on top of that, you like have younger players that do still find it attractive and still gravitate to it. It's not like something that it's like, well, my parents played that, but I don't care. Like there's new generations that keep latching on to Pokemon, and so that's why I think like it will sort of just keep getting bigger and bigger in a way, and it will sort of depend now on how Switch does, because we haven't seen anything like this, and how it will kind of take the reins from the 3DS eventually, which I think it will do, but we don't really know how. But I think this Pokemon rumor is sort of partly evidence of that, and I think the fact that this game has no 3D is evidence to, they're building it more to look good for the Switch as much as they can. Let's like get everything we can out of the 3DS so that the Switch version doesn't look bad. So yeah,
Interesting.
This diverse audience you talk about is a point I want to bounce off of because playing Pokemon Sun and Moon, something that is actually driving me nuts, despite enjoying a lot of the things of the introduction. I'm 27 years old and I've played Pokemon before, and sometimes I feel like the game. We were talking about Dishonored 2 and giving your players the information but not shoving it in their face, and like if they know what they're doing, let them then go. Pokemon doesn't do that, man. Like it for as much as I like it. It just kind of moves slow, and it's like, okay, this is how you capture a Pokemon. This is what, like, very basic concepts mean. And you're like, man, like, I know, and I get that you have to do this because there are probably an influx of people that don't understand.
or
but
people
there's-
like me and Brandon.
Right.
Like, I mean, Brandon's recently played Pokemon Red. I haven't played like main Pokemon games since like Silver.
Absolutely. And I'm totally okay with that stuff being there. It doesn't offend me, but I just wish there was an option or a way around this information for people that do know what they're doing that was a little bit more elegant. And I'm not saying I'm a Pokemon master. I'm not. But there were times where, despite enjoying so much of it, I wish I could have just sped it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
I like when the tutorials are always like option B.
Yeah.
Where like the conversation's going so that if you're actually in a hurry, you'll miss the tutorial. But if you really want to take it slow, they'll have that second dialogue option that's like, before I continue, you want me to get into that and explain
Right.
that? And you're like, no, I don't. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, always safe to have that.
Something I want to say about Sun and Moon is Professor, I believe you pronounce it Kukui, is his
Kukui,
name? Yeah. Is just the raddest dude ever. He's got this white lab coat on, no shirt underneath.
Nice.
And he's like in his lab, when you're approaching his lab, he's like wrestling with some Pokemon, and like his assistant's
that on my
like, guess we
screen
gotta
right now or
replace the room again.
Oh, no, it's the other person.
And he's got these sunglasses on, and you're just like, I want to hang out with that guy.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool.
I'm excited, man. I'm ready to bag some Pokemon. Bag them and tag them.
It's just like
Throwing some balls out
Yeah.
there. Let's go. Dopamine, baby.
talking about throwing balls. There are a ton of huge changes. Like you don't yeah.
Catch pen.
You don't have to like when you're trying to capture a Pokemon. You don't have to like dig into your bag anymore and be like, okay, where are my Pokeballs? Okay, get the Pokeball. Now I want to throw the Pokeballs and just go through way too many menus. You just hit Y, throw a Pokeball. Like it's way faster.
Nice.
You can see what the moves do in battle now, which it's so nice. You just hit L and then A, and it's like, oh, what does this move do? And there are a bunch of like quality of life improvements there.
That I'm not going to realize has been improved at all. I'm going to be like, oh, well, they obviously implemented this in the second Pokemon game
Right.
they released, and
Yeah.
you've been used to this for years.
actually,
our
yeah.
audience is going to be like, Jones,
I misspoke.
you
I
have no
actually,
idea
I-
the menus. are pretty cool,
Sapphire.
too.
Sapphire was the last one I played. I played Silver and then I played Sapphire.
Get your facts
But
straight,
still,
bud.
Yeah.
long time. GBA.
And not to pimp other shows that we're doing,
No,
Ben,
please,
but
please.
Kyle and I actually this morning, very early this morning, put up the first episode of Brandon Sun Kyle Moon, which will be our exploration of Sun and Moon, not only of the new game that came out, but specifically the difference between the Sun version and the Moon version. And I traded once, just for the purposes of our Brandon Plays Pokemon with Kyle, but like actually actively trading week after week after week and trying to fill out the roster. And,
How many
What time did you guys
Pokemon-
record that?
we did that Thursday night.
Okay.
We did that after Live with YouTube Gaming.
How many exclusive Pokemon are exclusive to each one? Isn't it usually just like one?
No. There are.
A lot.
Yeah, there's definitely
There's
more
a-
than
there's
one.
a-
Yeah.
For
There's
Red
a
and
decent
Blue, it
amount.
was like 10, at least 10.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number of exclusive Pokemon, but
Yeah.
it is a fair amount. I would
Cool.
say.
I like that.
Actually, that's why I'm actually going with Pokemon Sun, just because.
I went Moon. Let's
Yes,
trade.
nice. I want to trade with you. I want to cover this Pokedex. Yeah, I looked through the exclusive Pokemon and actually liked in total the exclusive Pokemon from Sun more than Moon. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Sun, baby.
Trade up.
Yeah. Nothing against Moon. I'm gonna
So-
probably get Moon.
Nothing against.
So
Sun.
apologies for not like jumping into this conversation
it's
because I
okay.
do have a unique perspective, but like we are doing another show, so I just don't want to
Yeah.
repeat the same things that I just said on a video I put up today.
Right, and Jones, actually, that's why I was a little bit worried about doing this Hotake. I wanted to talk about Pokemon so bad, but I didn't want to make you repeat yourself. Or
Well, what's
step on
great,
that.
I mean, I don't know if the panel or people at home ever had the situation where it's like you have a close group of friends, there's some film franchise or TV show or comic book or game that you never talk about with them, and they just like bring it up casually one day, and like you find they all love it, like whoa, and like I love that like we got codes in. And you were just like, hey, who wants, codes? And like so many of the allies were just like, oh my god, we're all in on Sun and Moon, and like it's just
Everyone
a good
except
feeling.
Brad.
It's just right.
Too cool.
Too
But
cool.
it's just a good vibe to like be discovering this franchise and just getting into it and have all of your support and different perspectives, on like what games, some of you have played all of the games like Kyle, some of you have, haven't played them in a while, but like have more experience than I do. And it's fun. It's really neat getting that unique perspective. I imagine it's what it's like when people watch us make videos about talking about video games.
I hope so.
To get
That's
that
the-
perspective.
That's
Yeah.
the vibe I
It's
want
fun
to
to
get
get
off.
that from you. So
Well, the funny thing for me is, like I haven't honed any of those like management skills of like building a team and getting through a story. Like I never got through either of the stories, the ones that I played. Like I want to go around and catch all the Pokemon, and I want to make,
I read a crazy article about Pokemon starters. It was Kotaku or Polygon. One of
People
them.
are like starting over and over to get like better stats. That's
Because like the odds of getting one of the starter Pokemon female is like 14% versus 85%. The stats are not predetermined. There's a chance to get like a shiny Pokemon. They've people are restarting hours and hours and hours of time.
is somebody.
But it's not Dead Rising, so you're starting over.
And I respect that.
I respect it too, but it has this interesting effect where I'm not at that level of
The meta.
Pokemon craziness. Yeah, like I'm not comparing all these individual values or restarting my game a bunch of times to get perfect stats. But because I know that stuff is there are times where I'm a little bit stressed or I question every single thing I do. Like, should I forget this move? Should I do that? Like, there's just this question of efficiency that I think can be a little bit hard to let go of.
Yeah.
But I'm happier when I do let go of it.
We should figure the meta out so we can just crush Bossman.
That would be really satisfying.
Yeah.
Don't tell him you're doing it, but do it.
Yeah, it might be more satisfying if you do it. But you did that during Brandon Plays Pokemon.
But it was unfair because I was way over leveled.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
but that's one of the new fun changes is that that is not new to Sun and Moon, but that they've added previously in the games that I've missed is that you can meet on a level playing field when you battle. So. If I have 99s across the
D-level you
board,
or
it doesn't
something?
matter. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
I can.
I feel
it'll match
so
us.
ignorant when I bring this up. I'm very curious.
We want to learn.
I'm very curious. Even levels for Pokemon battling against each other, right? How much of that is the luck of the draw of like, yo, I first threw out my water, he threw out his fire, I have the advantage, I won the coin flip.
There are a lot of layers there because it's
For sure.
like speed stats, and then you can augment that with items,
Yeah.
and then like held items, and it's just
And like winning the coin flip to like, oh, I get to attack first mathematically.
But
that
it's-
puts me
Well, it's
at
not
an
a coin
it's
flip,
not.
it's
Yeah,
speed.
it's speed.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So every Pokemon has a speed stat?
Yeah.
I remember
And that's-
I remember finishing red and Quick Attack came up and Kyle was like, "Well, Quick Attack's great because it attacks first every time." And I'm like,
Regardless,
"Because it's called Quick
Okay,
Attack."
sweet.
Yeah.
I've been out of the game
I
since
see what they did there.
been out of the game.
Been out of the game since X.
Well, that was the thing is that like I was way over leveled than Kyle, but he still could have beaten me. Like he still like made a couple mistakes that afterwards he was like, "Oh God, please tell chat. I know what I did wrong," and I did,
Like
But
the ways in which you can, on a competitive level, think about team composition. It's some complex stuff, man.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I keep hearing these rumblings
Oh,
of
yeah.
like competitive Pokemon.
And that's what I'm
battle.
saying. Like all the strategies, like
And
yeah.
What's overwhelming
Hopefully
is
I
to
can
like
dig into it this time, but it's so over my head most of the time.
It
to
feels
get
cool.
to that point. You have the work you have to put in.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Which sucks. It's like, holy crap. I felt like going into Sun and Moon right now, it's like, wow, this is awesome. This is such a cool moment in time because we're all coming in fresh to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But now I'm reading these articles of like, yo, restart in
hey.
10 hours. Like you're saying, like that's stressful, dude. They've already like figured everything out.
But here's something I learned playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is because once I became aware of that stuff, I got very anxious about it, and I tried to just overwhelm myself with information. It doesn't work because here I think if you do want to get into that stuff, play the game 1st. You know, get familiar with it, experiment, and then once you've finished the story, you've done that stuff, it feels comfortable to you. Then that information will make a lot more sense.
Cool.
So just be aware that it's there and get ready for it, but don't shove it down your throat immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like you can get really stressed out of it's like, oh, well, which moves should my Pokemon know and which ones to delete, and did I just make a huge mistake, and it's like, yeah, I have to try to let that stuff go and just
Every
play,
single
play the
I
game.
gave my
pick the
Charizard
Pokemon.
all the things that said fire in the title. That's how I figured that one out.
Nice.
I just liked booting up his ability. It was like fire, fire, fire. I'm like,
Yes.
yep.
Every single one of my Pokemon will have tackle.
Yeah. Axe throw.
Something that I'm surprised about, there's this new thing. It's kind of like a modified Pokemon Ami called Recover, where what I love, and you couldn't do this in the other games, is like let's say you get poisoned or paralyzed or you fall asleep. After battle, you can use Pokemon Recover or is it Pokemon Refresh? It might be called Refresh, not Recover. It might be Refresh. I'm sorry. Anyway, you can by like petting your Pokemon get rid of that status ailment. And so it has a very practical effect. It's like, okay, I don't have to use my antidote or my paralyzed heal or whatever to take care of this, which is nice. And I think it's a good, like, sneaky way of getting you, like, well, I'm already here. Why don't I give my Pokemon a little pet? Why don't I make it happy?
Yeah.
Why don't I increase its affection? Because
get into
that
it.
plays into its stats as well.
Cool.
And you can feed it these beans. And it can get full, and that affects things as well. And I think it's just actually so smart
Whoa.
that you're like, well, I want to get rid of poison.
Bean
I
meta.
might as well do these other things here. What did you say?
The bean meta is heavy.
Bean meta. Yeah.
How deep can you dive into this like Tamagotchi style raising of the Pokemon?
It's
Is there a
again,
lot?
I'm not a Pokemon master, but it feels deep.
Dude. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was in the game.
Yeah.
Oh man,
but
already.
but because like when you're after a battle, it'll just on the bottom screen. It's like, hey, like before we move on, do you want to just use this refresh mechanic?
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I like not having to like get out of the battle and then go into the menu and then do this thing just to feed my Pokemon. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do something practical. I don't want them to be poisoned anymore, and then I'm gonna do this other stuff. So I think it's really smart.
Does that get annoying? Do you have to do that every time after every battle? Or
You don't have
just-
to do it. You
just
don't have to do it
status
every time. But
ailments?
there are these new things in Pokemon centers called cafes. Okay, and you can go to cafes and you can get like lemonade or tea or something, and they'll give you like a snack that's unique to a particular area, and it will like cure all your Pokemon status elements, but you only get one of them. So that's useful. But if you've been feeding your Pokemon, little cafe dude is like, hey, I see you've been feeding them some beads. We like that. Here's a rare candy, which gives you a free Pokemon level. And so
Wow.
that's, feed your Pokemon beans.
So you're
you can go to those
encouraged
things.
to feed them after every single battle.
Yeah, but I found that like just feeding them once in a while is enough because they get full.
Okay.
They don't. They're like, okay,
Got it.
Rowlet's like, no more beans, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, but that's what's one of the things I joked with Kyle about Red is they were like, your rival doesn't appreciate Pokemon like you do. And I'm like, I guarantee you my rival does the same exact things that I do in this game. There's nothing I can do to like treat them better,
Right.
like, but the people tell you that all the time. They're like, that's the key is that you're nice to them. Whereas these Rocket guys, your rival, they're mean to their Pokemon. I'm like, how do you
Right.
get into
Kick
So
in
it's
the mouth.
yeah, so it's like there's like a nourishing factor.
Yes.
Because I'll definitely get attached to these little buggers.
Yeah.
Well, there's one that I saw
Yeah.
that I will probably, if I can, will keep in my team forever. It's like it's a little woodpecker with the red crest.
Pick-a-peck, I think. is his
Yeah,
name.
so that looks like the pileated woodpeckers back home in Florida, which
Ooh.
are, I had them in my backyard growing up. They're huge. They look prehistoric. They're crazy, and I just like identify with that thing. Put that thing on my team for sure. And then
That's so cool.
And then I'm gonna start with the owl. Had a lot of owls in my yard too. So
That was the best.
I think that's the best.
The best. I'm interested to see the 83% of players chose Rowlet.
It's gone so far that I see people. It was like Puglio or what's the Poplio that there's save Poplio
Yeah.
I really like
like people are
Poplio.
doing the battle charts. Be like, somebody pick Poplio, come on.
but I mean, it's like I have an owl for my Xbox avatar too. So it's
Too
just
good.
like,
All right. So, sorry, Blood. I didn't mean. I'm just
Sure.
very excited about something. When you can make Rowlet happy, he does this little spin. He's just like, and he spins around, and he's just like this orb, and he's just got this dumb look
It's
on his
too good.
face. It's too good.
It's too good.
Very happy about it.
That's why the original
sorry.
starting three are so legendary because they're all so different. And they're so amazing.
I feel like Bulbasaur is the odd man out. People
Sure.
love Bulbasaur and people like Bulbasaur.
Water
but-
goes to shaft every time.
Because he gets the.
No, that's grass.
I think
Oh,
Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur's grass.
I think Bulbasaur has the payoff though. Blastoise.
Yeah.
Wait, no, Bulbasaur is Ivysaur and Venusaur.
I'm sorry.
Venusaur.
I thought you were talking about Squirtle. My bad.
No, Squirtle
you
is the
think
king.
Bulbasaur is
Squirtle is the
not
king of all Pokemon, in my opinion.
Now, Blastoise is pretty great.
Blastoise, dude. I'm getting
Yeah.
a Blastoise tonight.
No, I apologize for people that enjoy hot Hotakes. This is not really a hot Hotake. This is. I just wanted to talk
the
about
Switch rumors.
Pokemon.
I think are pretty hot.
Yeah, I think it is hot.
that is a very interesting direction for it to go because it also implies that you would be able to trade, right? If they've got to have that worked out.
Right.
If it's going to be part of the same set,
How are those? How are they? How
do you transfer? How do you trade? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
So-
what if it has like a built-in Pokemon Stadium? You battles.
Yeah, now I'd imagine
One
they
new
would
mode
have
would
new
be
stuff.
key, especially if it's
Yeah.
late. If we don't get that until like next summer or something,
Yo,
potentially, like there's got to be some new mode. There's got to be something that we can.
why have
See
we
on the
not
big screen.
streamed Pokemon Stadium?
Because we're
What
done.
are we doing?
That's it. That's the beginning and the end of it. Yeah, we just don't know what we're doing.
Oh, also,
Like, Easy
like
Allies
my
has
transfer
failed.
cart doesn't work anymore. So
Yeah,
you remember you had to plug that into the N64 to actually
But
trade.
yeah, it feels good to be past the like 3DS version of Smash Brothers and Wii U version of Smash Brothers. Now it's just gonna be Smash Brothers. You know.
Yeah,
Now it's
I
just
agree.
now it's just Pokemon. It doesn't mean you're not gonna think, oh, what's that coming out for? Or
Well, Dragon Quest XI has the 3DS version, and
But they're doing
Switch
something interesting
version.
with that.
That is
Yeah.
actually funny that Dragon
Yeah.
Quest XI is going to come out so late that it's going to be like the last good 3DS game.
I like how different it looks for sure. It's cool.
It is funny to me that people have been clamoring for a full console Pokemon experience for a very long time, and like now they're being strong armed into it. It's like, we have one console. You have to put the Pokemon on this.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it takes.
Yeah. Not to cut this Pokemon Feel Good train short, but are you guys ready for some emails?
Emails.
It's time for some emails. Our first email comes in for Christopher. Really like this one. The subject is meeting your gaming heroes. And he says, Dear Eorzean allies, reference to a Final Fantasy XIV show we do. I recently had the pleasure of bumping into Ben at TGS. I was there for work as I had joined the localization team for Final Fantasy XIV at Square Enix that very month. Even though I'm sure Ben was busy enough just taking the okay, he's just being nice to me. Thank you for being nice to me. My question to the allies is, have you ever met anyone you admired from the game industry and just had a really pleasant time interacting with them? I hear a lot of stories of people meeting their heroes or other famous people and them turning out to be massive jerks. But it'd be nice to hear some positive stories for a change. Love and respect, Chris.
Well, I'll go with the most recent. Really, is when Naughty Dog had it come out. Like those guys were super excited to have us there. It's weird. It was like mutual fandom, and we had no idea. It's like, oh yeah, we'd love to come to Naughty Dog and hang out and do a stream, and they were all about it. It was like it was actually hard to get into the streaming room because more and more people wanted to come and talk to us. And so it was crazy because it's like it's like, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time and I'm proud of my work, but Naughty Dog is like top of the class. Why do you care what we do? So it's really cool. And then I actually had an interaction with one of them this weekend. I didn't even realize I had the interaction until after the fact, where I have to replace my audio receiver at home for my home theater, and I don't have a lot of money right now. I didn't want to spend a lot, and so I was like, okay, can I replace the thing I have now with this one? And he got on and he was like, well, that one's not going to be, future proof for you. It doesn't do the stuff you need for 4K HDR, etc. And I was like, okay, well, what about this one? And so we went back and forth a little bit. And then afterwards I looked and was like, lead sound designer at Naughty Dog. He's like, oh, I thought it was just a guy on my Twitter feed. So that's awesome. So cool. He knows what he's talking about. Great.
It's so cool that they've invited us over there and made us feel welcome, and
Yeah.
they're willing to.
And I don't know if Huber can talk about recent events either, but
Ooh,
Uh,
juicy.
My.
I'm just gonna say Jason Vandenberg.
oh yeah.
Well documented.
Yes. My goodness.
Romance going on.
Just the nicest person you'll ever meet. Just oozes with love and respect and passion for what he does, and just wants to make sick video games and play them. And you feel that I felt that he had so much joy from the fact that I was enjoying myself playing For Honor at E3 that, that's like heartwarming. It's like, wow, he is so happy that I'm happy right now from just playing this.
Right.
So, yeah, Jason Vandenberg,
He just
stand
eats
up.
it up.
Stand up, man. Class act.
I did not meet this person. I have two, because one I didn't meet, but I just want to give credit. Igarashi is the Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Right? At this last E3, Iga would stand by, and now the game is
Bloodstained.
escaping me as well.
Bloodstained,
Bloodstained.
yes.
The Bloodstained had two stations
Yep.
in the Xbox booth, and he just, with the hat and everything, just
Stood
stood there.
there.
Yeah, arms crossed.
It was so
amazing.
intimidating.
It was amazing.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to him, but I couldn't because he was so welcoming to people. People just walk up and like bump into him and be like, oh my God. You know, it's like, I would not expect to find you here because it's like, well, no, you're at E3. Go out and play other people's stuff. But he was just, I really want to see people's reactions. I really just want to be here. So I was really impressed with that, even though I didn't get a chance to talk to him. But a random name just popped into my head because I don't do a lot. I've not gotten out as much as I should have during the course of Easy Allies and game trailers. One person I bumped into many times and talked to many times and is a very nice gentleman is Marty O'Donnell from formerly of Bungie. Music composer. First time I met Marty was
a weird random thing. Like I didn't actually talk to him or introduce myself because I didn't want to bug him. But when I was at GDC, we went out to dinner and like Marty and his crew were like in the booth next to ours.
That's what's fun about a Comic-Con or a PAX or something where like the convention just kind of takes over the town. Because like if you go out to dinner, keep your eyes peeled. But first time I met him was at Video Games Live. Over a decade ago, and he was like really forthcoming, told me some really interesting things about like recording Halo 2 that I didn't know at the time. And I went to DICE in Vegas 2 years back, and he was talking to a couple music producers, and it was great because I felt good because I'm like, so many people want to go over and like talk to a Troy Baker or talk to like some of these actors or like famous journalists or something, and I'm just like, I want to go talk to Marty. I'm gonna go and he was talking to somebody that actually had worked with John Williams before of Star Wars and Indy and everything, and so I gave her my card. I was like, hey, like I would love to interview John Williams, but he's just a really nice guy, and like he had such a strange Kojima-esque fallout with Bungie, and we don't really know like 100% like what happened there, and so it was nice to kind of check back in with the guy and be like, yeah, you are actually just a very down to earth. Nice guy who really appreciates people that come at him and can specifically say about his music and game music. I know you're obviously a huge fan.
No, I love talking to composers. So
yeah,
talked to Austin Wintory quite a bit at GDC as well.
But it's tough because it's an interesting question because there's like a lot of famous people that you will just interview. You go in and like I have a chance. That's why you and Vandenberg are so wonderful because it's like not really an interview. It's like just two people hanging out.
Yeah,
it's two Vikings reuniting.
And so I find the best opportunities. Some of the best interviews I've done are off camera because you don't have that stuff either. Is the mic set? We got lights and okay. Now we're having a natural conversation.
Oh.
It's so hard to just snap your fingers and make that happen. But if there is no camera, if there's no recording or anything, and we're really just like chatting. I had a great conversation with the people from Squanch Tendo with the accounting on VR, with the creator. I can't remember the show that he created. Not Star Wars: Forces of Evil. Hello, Rick and Morty creator, and the guys from Crows, and just like wasn't recording anything. We're just joking, talking about funny moments in the game and stuff. So it is an interesting question because it's rare that you get those opportunities.
Yeah.
Like me chatting with Marty while we're just having drinks.
Well, we were talking about interviews and turning cameras off. It reminded me of when I did the Backtrack series for Mass Effect, which I think I might need to bug Fran at IGN about. I think those might not have made it to the YouTube channel.
Oh no. Okay.
So I might have to get him the files. They might have been lost in the transitions. But yeah, when I was doing some of those interviews, like we started getting into some things on camera, and then after the cameras got off, like we really started getting into it. It's like the frustrations of things sort of started coming out, and it's like a lot of just the businessy sides and who gets credited for what and why things are credited, and like it was very interesting and enlightening conversations to where it was like, oh, I'm frustrated about these things, but I don't know what's going on, and then like, oh, okay, so here's your side of why that stuff happens. Yeah.
During my first 6 months at Game Trailers, I got to interview Ken Levine, and I'm really bummed because this interview never made it anywhere. But I was fresh young lad at that point, and like just stepping into that room, I'd never been more nervous for anything in my life. It was like, hey, you made BioShock, like that's a big deal. And I know we have some mixed opinions about that game amongst this crew, but I really loved it. And Ken Levine was a name I had heard so much about and read so much about that like he was kind of like the first icon that I got to interact with on a one-on-one basis. And like never have I met somebody of that stature that seemed like more humble or just like more genuine. Like we barely talked about BioShock. He just was such an intelligent, like passionate guy, and he didn't talk to me like an interviewer. And I think that's a rare thing to come across, where you have those interviewees that feel like they're on their guard, or like, they like they're saying what they're going to say in their head and like mentally checking it before they spit it out. And Ken just talked to me like I don't know how else to say this. Like a fellow nerd. Like I felt like I was talking to a friend, and he was such a cool guy. Never did I feel like there was any difference amongst us, and that was so cool. I have a lot of respect for him for that.
That's awesome because I try so hard when I interview people to make it not about the interview.
Yeah.
You know, I try to like make it as jolly as possible,
Yep.
and then the second the interview, like everything's so good before,
Yeah.
we're buddying around. How you doing, man? Well, I love your games.
Yeah.
Interview starts. The experience will be the. It was, you know.
Yes,
what I mean,
there will be multiplier in the game. Team
will be-
deathmatch is something we're very excited about.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're not saying anything about that particularly right now, but
Yeah.
we might have some more information about that in the future. It's like,
The verticality in this game is off the
Yeah.
charts. Definitely. That was good.
yeah. Also
Good
worth pointing out, 99% of every video game voice actor I've met are all awesome. All of them.
Yeah, they
There's
are.
like 2,
That's a good
and
point.
I'm just like, what's your problem? But all the other ones are great.
Yeah, I that's actually something I miss about GT Live is getting all those voice actors in. Those are some really
Me
cool stuff.
too.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
studio.
Getting a studio. Gonna happen. Dream big dreams, everybody. Our next question comes in from Brandon.
Hey.
And I just want to say thank you to Brandon. Thank you to all the people that do this. We get some people that, are writing for our episode, and I really like that. I appreciate that interaction. Props to you all. Hey, everyone. My question for the panel this week involves announcements being made well in advance of a given date. I was wondering what everyone thinks about knowing what is to come being either a good or bad thing. A couple examples being the Nintendo Switch, Mass Effect Andromeda, seeing little snippets of that. And Brandon goes on to say, personally, I feel like it takes some of the surprise out of the events. Think back to Sony's E3 show this year and finding out about Resident Evil 7 or seeing Hideo Kojima come on stage. Those moments I feel were more impactful because we didn't see them coming. Yeah. What do you think? Should the gameplay reveal of Andromeda have been kept a secret? Do you feel like we should know what's to come beforehand? Thanks for taking my email. As always, stay easy, fellow allies.
It's tricky because you did know they were coming because you were watching the press conference. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you can surprise if like a company like Sony's like, we're gonna have a party. You don't know who's gonna be there. You don't know who's gonna walk out on stage. But if you're a Nintendo Switch announcement and it's like, well, there's not another video game event that we're just gonna go to and announce a Switch. We have to make our own event. We have to let you know ahead of time we're gonna do it. So yeah, I think there's a big difference between a Rockstar Games, like letting you know a couple days in advance, like, hey, just don't plan anything for Thursday morning because we're gonna be dropping the trailer for Red Dead. I like that. I like the setup. I know a lot of people, it's really easy to mock like a trailer of a trailer. It's just like, oh, it's an ad for an ad. Like, oh, come on, you're like prepping, but like they really want you to be focused on that. It's so easy to for some game to just fly completely under the radar for you to like get to the end of the week and it's like, oh, did you see that trailer? Like, what? No, I didn't see that at all. Ghost in the Shell this last week, we were like, oh, Ghost in the Shell trailer. I'm like, is that old? They're like, no, it came out today. I'm like, oh, like I didn't know because it just dropped. And it's fun because you get the shock and everybody kind of scrambles to check it out. But at the same time, if we maybe got 24 hours advance that it was happening, then I'll be ready. Then we'll make a big event out of it. So
Yeah, I mean, I think those two examples are so polar opposite to me because, the Switch is something that we've only known that it exists in like the deep background and all these rumors and stuff are out there, but you don't know how much stock to put in any of it. Was not really any true information for a very long time, and then it's like, okay, here it is. After all these people saying that, oh, well, they're going to announce something now, and like it would never happened. And I was like, okay, here we go. Here's an announcement. We're going to put it out there. We're going to let you see what this thing is. And then, we're going to have an event to where we actually get into it. Whereas with Mass Effect, it's just this weird like, oh, here's a little thing. Here's a little thing. Here's a little thing. And it's just like, it's just sort of, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but it just felt like all over the place. And now it's like, oh, and now we're going to have the gameplay reveal. And I'm like, didn't you sort of
we've seen gameplay
do
4
that
times
already?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So it's strange. And especially something like that where it's like, we have the cinematic trailer now and like in a month, we're going to have a gameplay reveal. That's like, okay, well, tell me in a month, I guess. I don't know.
Movies piss me off with stuff like this. Most recent example, Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
3 days before the movie, they're like, oh, guess what? This person's gonna be this person. You're like, yo, thanks. Why are you telling me 3 days before the movie comes out?
Yeah.
Star Wars. Hey, guess what? Luke's gonna be in episode 8.
Right.
Oh, great. Good to know. Haven't even seen episode 7 yet.
Yeah.
Like, my God. You know, I get it. I get that you need to build hype, sell tickets, whatever you got to do. But, like, it's so nice when people, like, the companies and the studios have a level of love and respect for the art to let it remain and let you discover it on your own terms.
Yeah, it's such a tricky balance because I think there are plenty of like fairly big games that came out this year that like where's the marketing? Why aren't we seeing this? I think Titanfall 2 could have used some more love.
Yeah.
You know? But I think the thing that pisses me off the most, and I actually had to look it up on my phone to make sure I was getting the title correct, is when you hear about a game and they have like that big explosion, and it's like kind of a new thing, and you're kind of interested, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to hear more, and then they spend such a long time just fading into black, so when eventually it does resurface, like that initial wonder is gone. I think the perfect example for me is Agents of Mayhem, the new game from Volition.
Yeah.
Right, and you're
Which
all
I've played.
Your eyes are getting wider, and it's like, oh, here's this new thing from Volition. We're going to announce it. Here's all this stuff, and then nothing.
Ahoy, motherfucker!
Right. Yeah. And I have no idea if that game is
will-
going to be good or not.
I will never forget it.
Thank you, Hubert. Thank you.
But it's just like when Agents of Mayhem comes back, you know, there's just like this weird gap, and now it feels like you're creating your own mountain, you know, in a weird way.
Yeah, totally.
So
But yeah, what the stuff Hubert was saying, like that is one thing that, you know, I know it, like there's all of these reasons that go behind it, but I don't really like casting announcements and all of
like,
this
does
stuff
that
to where like
really-
you hear about all the stuff that happens with movies, you know, just because it gets out on the news feeds and I
It's
think
unavoidable.
I think the game industry is definitely better about that. So it's kind of funny to me, like that's part of the actor strike is it's like, oh, we don't want there to be so much secrecy. It's like, well, I still want there to be quite a bit of secrecy. I think
Secrecy to
you
the
should
fans,
know.
just not the actors. It's like,
Yeah, I
have
think you
5
should
minutes,
know
let
what
me
you're
what
working
I'm
on.
doing.
Yeah, yeah, it's always weird to me, you know, for shows and stuff that I watch and well, I follow it on Twitter because I kind of want to know what's going on, but I don't need to know everything. I don't need you to tweet out gifs of every good moment of the episode as it's airing.
You know who I had to unfollow on Twitter because it's just too much? But I love her to death is Galen Hurd. Because she like
Spoils
she's just like
everything.
retweet. So like load up Twitter and it's like the Galen Hurd app. I'm like, come on, you know, it's like, but she loves that too. Like she'll Walking Dead spoilers and all that. I'm just like, stop it, you know. I was just like, I respect you. You're wonderful. You just produced Aliens. Bless you, human. But I can't be quiet. I just can't. It's interesting. I'm so interested in this person, but not with anything they have to say.
True. Yeah.
there are names I'm thinking of right now. Yeah. Yep. Our next and last email of the day comes, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. It comes from Noam, N-O-A-M, Dream Adaptations. Hi there, friends. I'm reading 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami right now, and I can't help but think that Satoshi Kon could have made an excellent animated adaptation of the novel if he were still alive. Both the story and the themes of the book really jive with his unique tone and style, especially in the way he blends the real with the surreal, and the way he disorients you through his editing. Got me thinking about what other dream adaptations I would want to see, like a game adaptation of the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. The magic system in those books would work so well as a game.
Yeah.
What are some of your dream adaptations and why? It doesn't have to be a book to movie. It can literally be anything. Examples: film to game, game to show, film to show, etc.
The Meta Barons. It's a graphic novel. I just love the world and the art.
What's the name again? I'm sorry.
The Meta Barons.
Okay.
It's got meta in the title. Yeah, I just think it'd be a very cool game. There's a lot of really interesting, complex characters, themes, everything, just like a good legendary graphic novel has. Just check out some art, and you'll be like, "Whoa, cool world." So,
I love the X-Men. I would love X-Men, XCOM. Turn-based, strategic, select your team, go in and finish the mission, but with the X-Men. And I even got a plot for you because I've thought about this game so much. So I don't know who would be a good bad guy. It would be someone actually on like the Professor X level, someone with like mental powers that literally lobotomizes all of the X-Men. Like just does something widespread. Like they're all at some event or something, and everyone's there but X, and they basically just like turn all of the X-Men. They still have the powers. Like they're still made of the same stuff, but they all just like you shut robots off. So X is literally controlling the entire team. So when you move from one person to the other, he's like, okay, Logan, stay there. Okay, like Scott, shoot that guy. Okay, you do, and then maybe you get them back as they go so they can start fighting on their own. But like, I just every X-Men games, I was just like, go, punch. Mm-hmm. And I would just love strategy. I would just love like actually seeing like the team split up and like tackle certain things and like accessing that some are ranged versus melee versus, like more mental and controlling different things and stuff. Yeah.
That was a hell of an answer.
I want it. Couldn't sell though. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't. I just don't think the strategy community and the X-Men community are that big that you would see them.
They said
reach across the aisle.
XCOM, and I mean, no one sell.
Right. X-Men Com.
How about we haven't even seen it yet, but a Logan adaptation, Logan game, Last of Us style Logan. Yes.
I have one. I would like to take Lightning from Final Fantasy 13, and I would like to make a 3D platformer, a la Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Okay.
And I want just catchphrases all around. I want you to run into your friends.
Good.
Like Hope and Snow.
Right.
And I want you to run around and jump and.
What are you collecting?
You're collecting death because it's in a dream, and do you dream of death? No, this is just a meme answer. I didn't have a good one, but.
Did you see, Ben Moore, that the Amazon pre-order for 15? You ready for this?
No.
You're gonna have to change whatever you got going on. There is a 15 pre-order on Amazon that gives you Lightning's weapon.
No.
Yup.
But okay,
You need it.
Here's the problem I have with that though, Hubert.
You need it.
When I think I actually think like I'm looking at Lightning right now. I actually think she's a cool design.
Yeah.
But like the least interesting thing about her is the weapon.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but I don't know. I think like the coat, and the.
But just think about Noctis
else.
holding her legacy, holding that blade. But the feeling.
But
what
she
if
doesn't even use the
instead
same weapon
the
across
context
games.
shattering around him?
Like,
what if
I don't know.
instead
Like you think about
you got
think
a
about,
lightning wig?
Yeah, that would be more
that'd be
interesting.
so good.
Noctis in the wig, like that's a much better.
The funny thing is, you wouldn't even need a wig; just color his hair pink.
Yeah.
He's lightning.
You think about Cloud and the Buster Sword. You think about Squall and the Gunblade, and it's I just think it's more 1-to-1 there is that weapon.
You're right.
I got a Final Fantasy pick though. You made me think of something with Final Fantasy. World of Final Fantasy is adorable. Interesting new combat system.
Yes.
Cutting the review looked a lot deeper than I expected. There were a lot of cool areas that I was like, it's a little too spoilery. I don't want to show that in the review.
I'm playing tonight.
But the one thing that they get close to doing that they've never done, and like Dissidia's like gotten close to it, and like in this game, and Kingdom Hearts is like almost there. But like whenever they have a game where like Final Fantasy characters will bump into each other, there's never that like confusion. It's always just like, oh, who are you? I'm Cloud. It's like, oh, I'm T, or Cloud, Tifa obviously know each other, but like I'm Lightning. Let's go on an adventure.
Right.
I would love Cloud to be like, what? Who? What? Where are you from? And like for her to have to explain to Cloud, this is the world that I came from. What's your world like? And have for him to explain to her who Sephiroth is and what Midgar is, and actually have Final Fantasy characters talk to each other about the worlds they come from. And so it was like a disappointment for me in World of Final Fantasy. It's like, oh no, you don't play as any of these Final Fantasy characters you love. You play as these two people that you don't care about at all. And then they bump into all these fun people, like you're just going through Mr. Rogers' neighborhood and just hanging out with all your friends. And like I would love a Final Fantasy RPG that picks one character through the entire lineage to represent a class. You have one summoner, that's it. You have Yuna. Yuna's it. She's the summoner. No Rydia, just Yuna. Or just Rydia, no Yuna. And they all have to get together to fight either a new villain or a villain that you're familiar with. And so we actually get conversations with them. You actually see like this kind of ragtag of people pulled from different franchises that just suddenly wake up, whoa, where are we? And like, I would just love to realistically play through that scenario and see how those characters would interact.
Hearts. They do a lot of that.
And they do that
Cloud
in
and
World
stuff?
of Final Fantasy as well. Yeah. But I get what you're saying. Like take it to another
But
level.
then in Kingdom Hearts, it's from the perspective of Roxas
Right,
or of
right.
these characters who are not these other characters. Like I don't want to meet anyone new. Get them all out of there. It's like I only want this to be cast with characters I'm familiar with.
I want perhaps a beloved Final Fantasy character. You were talking about that confusion and be like,
Yeah.
who are you? I just want them to just be like hated by like everyone else. Like most of them come together, but like everyone picks on Cloud or everyone I don't know.
And like whenever they get in a chocobo, it's like their style of chocobo. So like if there's like the parties all riding on chocobos, they all look different because they all look different in different games. So
I want they just put Ramza into the City arcade game. I want more love from Tactics. There are a lot of
Yeah.
good characters there, and yeah, it deserves some more attention.
Ben might be the only one that knows this one at all. But Nausica, the Miyazaki
Yes,
film.
I do.
Yeah.
Huh.
That
10 out of 10.
always, like, since I was a little kid, I've loved that story and that world, and it's so interesting and intricate, and I've always imagined myself, like, especially when I was younger, like, just like flying on that glider, because it when you see it animated, it's almost like how that feels, right?
Yes.
And so, like, if you could capture all of that and the giant insects and the toxic jungle and everything that's involved in there, like, it would just be such an interesting world to really dive into.
And you know what's funny is so many games have very obviously taken from Nausicaa, and you're totally right. Where you just want the full experience. Yeah, definitely.
And even the I almost wonder if the chocobos were taken from Nausicaa.
Sure.
Because you had the guy with the birds.
Mm-hmm. Everyone should watch that movie if you haven't.
wow,
Go on
animated?
Amazon.
One of my favorite movies ever.
What's the spelling?
Nausicaa.
Okay. Whoa.
Oh, and the manga that's based off of is also fantastic.
Yeah, I've got the full manga, and it's actually interesting because he made the film before he finished the manga, so the manga branches off into very different directions later on. But yeah, both very recommended.
I feel like this is. I know I already said my stupid lightning answer, but and maybe this is taking the easy way out, but just replaying The Witcher again, I could see it as a condensed movie. You know what I mean? Like I could see actors playing that role and have it feel powerful.
CD Projekt Red, come on now.
Well, I mean,
Give us more.
That's the thing is that they've
on.
added so much.
Not
to
earn your
that.
keep, CD Projekt
Chop
Red.
chop.
They've
What have
apparently
you done for
made
me
some very
this
bad
year?
Witcher movies already.
Blood
but-
and Wine,
Okay, what are you gonna do in 2017, huh? No Cyberpunk news.
dude.
Slackers.
Cyberpunk. Sorry, Blood. I felt like you were getting trampled a little bit there.
Oh no, because it's not their again. Like they are an adaptation, and they are a pretty freaking great adaptation.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that would be weird is like who could then take it to film and would they do a new story? Would they try to adapt one of the book stories? Would they try to adapt the Witcher 3 story? So there's a lot of different weird things that could happen, and it's hard because it's sort of necessitates quite a big budget
Yeah,
to really
that's true.
to really do it well. So that's why it's kind of like I think that would work better as a TV series, but then a TV series is not going to have the budget to do it the justice that it would need. So it's tough. I don't want to see some guy in a weird, awkward rubber drowner suit.
No. Well, I kind of do, but I don't want that to be it. Cool. That's it for Frame Trap, I think, this week. What I love, this was like I felt like we were just hanging out, like casually conversing with each other. This didn't necessarily feel like a show with segments. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the panel. I hope you enjoyed the discussions. I loved